Students are joining. We will start in a minute. Hello, good morning, and welcome to Byju's Exam Prep. We initiated a discussion on elections yesterday. Elections, one tool through which the people hold their governments accountable. If you're satisfied with the government, people will vote this government back to power. Otherwise, it will be replaced by the opposition or some other political entity. Election is not only a mechanism by which people choose a government, but they also choose the opposition, who is best suited to keep this government under check and ultimately uphold the interests of the people. There are constitutional provisions mentioned for elections. Article 324 gives the power of superintendence, direction, conduct, and control to a constitutional body known as the Election Commission of India. What is this Election Commission? What is the composition? How are these members appointed? What are the recent changes that have been brought? There's a bill which is pending in the parliament. There was a judgment given by the court. That's something that we discussed yesterday. Then we look at the entire election process, right from the preparation of electoral rolls, and then dates are announced by the Election Commission of India. As soon as the dates are announced, model code of conduct comes into the picture. And this model code of conduct remains till the declaration of results. During this model code of conduct, the government cannot announce any new scheme, any new policy, because the very purpose of this model code of conduct is to ensure a level playing field. What is the origin and evolution of model code of conduct? What are the provisions of model code of conduct? Should it be given a legal status? Because it does not have a statutory backing. It's a voluntary document wherein all the political parties have voluntarily agreed that we will abide by it. What if they violate it? Can there be penal action against them? That's something that we discussed yesterday. Then we looked at once the campaigning is over, then voting takes place. And there is a period known as election silence. That means 48 hours before the end of the polling. That period is election silence, during which no campaign can take place, no election propaganda can take place. And then if it is the voting day, voting takes place through electronic voting machines. What is an EVM? Who manufactures an EVM? What are the advantages of the EVM? What is the criticism leveled against EVMs? What is the use of VVPAT? What is the use of totalizer? All that is something that we discussed yesterday. Today, let's look at opinion poll and exit poll. Preparation of electoral roll. Dates are announced by Election Commission of India. Model code of conduct comes into the picture. Campaigning takes place. And this is where now election notification is issued. And we have discussed that under Section 14 and Section 15 of the Representation of the People Act 1951, the President will issue the notification for Lok Sabha election and the Governor will issue the notification for the legislature elections, right? The process is filing of nomination papers, then withdrawal, then scrutiny, then voting. And this entire process is mentioned where? Representation of the People Act 1951. Because it is this law passed by the parliament which governs the conduct of elections in India. So as soon as the dates are announced, after some time, notification is issued by the president if it's a Lok Sabha election, by the governor if it's a legislature election. And then candidates are asked to file their nomination papers. And these nomination papers are to be filed with the returning officer. Returning officer is the DM if it's a Lok Sabha election, SDM or Assistant Deputy Collector if it's a legislative assembly election. For example, Election Commission of India says we will conduct this election to Lok Sabha in 9 phases. Obviously, geographically large, vast country, we don't have resources to ensure that elections are conducted on a single day in the entire country. That won't be possible because it involves a lot of expenditure, a lot of resources, a lot of personnel. CRPF, police, officers, returning officers, presiding officers, observers. It requires a lot of infrastructure. We cannot ensure election to be conducted on a single day in the entire country. That's why we have various phases. Also, because there are different areas in this country which are disturbed, where there is a possibility of violence. Violence can be because of separatist tendencies, secessionist elements. Violence can be because of internal disturbance, for example, the Maoists, the Naxalites. Violence can also be because of two competing castes with each other. So there are lots of factors that the Election Commission has to take into account, and that is how it announces dates. And let's say Election Commission says, we will conduct elections, we will hold elections in 9 phases. Now for the first phase, nomination papers are invited. If I'm a candidate, I get this nomination paper, and I have to fill every column of this nomination paper. And this was the change which was brought about 5 years, 6 years ago, 10 years ago. Otherwise, previously, if you had to file nomination papers, you could have kept some of the columns blank. But then just before 2014 Lok Sabha elections, changes were made to Representation of the People Act to these rules. Nomination papers cannot be left blank. Any portion cannot be left blank. That is why what is the name of the candidate? What is the name of the spouse? Are you married or not? All these details are to be mentioned. And that is why previously Mr. Modi, when he would fill his nomination papers, he would keep the marriage column blank. But 2014 onwards, he mentions that he is married. Because if you keep any column blank, your nomination paper will be rejected. And we have discussed in Article 91A that Supreme Court has said, on the basis of the petition filed by Association for Democratic Reforms, that the voters have a right to know. A right to know who is this candidate contesting election? What is the amount of property in his name? What is the amount of property in the name of his spouse? What is the educational qualification? How many criminal cases are pending against him? So that the voters can make an informed choice whether this is the right candidate for our constituency. And these nomination papers are submitted before the returning officer. And I told you yesterday, returning officer is an official who returns the winner. And I will give you one more explanation of this slightly later. But returning officer is an individual who returns the winner, declares the winner. And you have to submit your nomination papers before the returning officer, along with the oath. And that oath is mentioned under 3rd schedule of the Constitution. I have to contest election. For that, I have to take an oath as well. But once you file your nomination papers, you're also given opportunity to withdraw from the election race. For example, I belong to Congress. I want to contest election from this constituency. But Congress gave ticket to someone else. Now I want to jeopardize the prospects of this candidate, I am contesting as an independent. Because Congress cadre, Congress voters, they will split between him and me. Some of them will vote for me, some of them will vote for them. Ultimately, the loser is the Congress. Now, Congress will over a period of time try to convince me, we will send you to Rajya Sabha or we will send you to Legislative Assembly. Don't contest Lok Sabha election. Our votes would be split and we are the losers. And over a period of time, I can withdraw. There's a window given, time window, within which I can withdraw my nomination papers as well. Once nomination papers have been filed, once date for the withdrawal of nomination paper is over, now scrutiny takes place. The returning officer scrutinizes these nomination papers. Are these nomination papers in order? Is every column, all the details, are they mentioned or not? And once the nomination papers are accepted, then the cycle for that phase closes, campaigning continues, now we have voting. During this process, when first phase campaigning is going on or election campaigning is going on, and after the voting is over, there are three things that can happen. One is an opinion poll, the other is an exit poll, and then we have a post poll. What is opinion poll? Before the voting, there are organizations whom we call pollsters. For example, today's Chanakya, My Access India, Center for the Society of Developing Studies. There are so many pollsters, organizations which conduct and carry out these opinion polls. Basically, before people come out in large numbers to vote, these organizations approach the people, who are you going to vote for before the voting? What are the issues on the basis of which you want to vote for a political party? What are the top 5 issues concerning you in these elections? Is it unemployment? Is it corruption? Is it criminalism? Is it foreign policy? Is it price rise? What are these issues? That means just before the voting, these pollsters, these organizations approach the voters and ask them, who are you going to vote for? That is before the voting. After the voting, as soon as you exit the polling booth, I press the button on the electronic voting machine, I exit the polling booth, I see these pollsters, and they are now asking me, who did you vote for? And I tell them I voted for this, I voted for that candidate. But sir, what about the anonymity of the vote? State, system should not reveal who you have voted for. But if you're voluntarily saying, I voted for this candidate, I voted for this political party, there is no issue. That means when I press my button on the electronic voting machine, I should be satisfied that nobody is witnessing my choice of vote. If I want, I can reveal it outside. Who did I vote for? But system should be such that it should ensure my anonymity. I can refuse answer to this question. Who did you vote for? I will not answer. Leave aside. I don't want to answer. Opinion poll is before the polling. You are being asked, who are you going to vote for? Exit poll is as soon as you exit the polling booth, I am asking you, who did you vote for? And then there is post poll. Because as soon as you exit the polling booth, I am asking you, who did you vote for? Maybe you don't want to reveal your actual choice. Maybe you're seeing that there are representatives of various political parties who may also be witness to this conversation. I don't want to get myself into any trouble. I go home, and once I reach home, there's a knock at my door. These pollsters come. Who did you vote for? Now, I don't worry about my surrounding because I'm at my home. That is what is called post poll. Opinion poll before the polling. Exit poll as soon as you exit the polling booth. Post poll, once you're at home or you are at your place of work or you are at a roadside dhaba, there you are being asked, who did you vote for? There's a ban. Exit polls and post polls are banned until the last vote. Which means these pollsters, these organizations cannot publish the findings of the exit poll and post poll unless and until the last person has cast his vote. Sir, you are confused. Why? Sir, you said after the voting is over. Then I'm asking you, who did you vote for? And now you're saying there's a ban unless and until the last person has cast his vote, which is basically the same thing because exit poll is after voting, post poll is after voting. What are you saying? My dear, what if it is a 9-phase election? 9-phase election. That means in first phase, voting is over. This organization conducts the exit poll and then publishes the findings of this exit poll. Now people will come to know who people have voted for in the first phase. Don't you think this result is going to affect the voter who is going to vote in the second phase, then in the third phase, then in the fourth phase, then in the ninth phase? Since exit poll and post poll, they have the tendency to influence the minds of the voters. That is why there is a ban on the publishing of the results of the findings of exit poll and post poll unless and until the last person has cast the vote in the election. That means the last phase is over, last person's vote is over. After that, you can publish the findings of exit and post poll. Similarly, what if it is a single day polling? In a particular state, voting takes place in a single day. Unless until the last person has cast his vote, you cannot publish the findings. But sir, in any case, it will be published after the voting. No, it can be sometimes. If there is no ban, what can happen is people will start voting from 8 a.m. onwards. This organization will publish the findings that between 8 a.m. and 12 p.m. in this slot, whoever voted, 90% of these voters voted for the BJP. If I have to vote after 12 p.m., I don't want to waste my vote. Because if people already have voted for the BJP, I will also vote for the BJP. Otherwise, I would be wasting my vote because I will be voting for a candidate who is going to lose the election. So post poll, exit poll, they have the tendency to influence the minds of the voters because it's not speculation. I am asking you, who did you vote for? I'm not asking you 2 weeks ago. Who are you going to vote for? 1 week is a long time in politics. Anything can happen in 1 week. Anything can happen in a day. So when I'm asking you an opinion poll, who are you going to vote for? You may change your opinion after 3 days, after 5 days, after a week. But in exit poll and post poll, I'm asking you, who did you vote for? That is why there's a ban on the publishing of the findings of exit poll and post poll unless and until the last person has cast a vote in the last phase of the elections. But sir, then what is the utility? 9-phase election is over. Today at 6 p.m., the last person has cast a vote. After that, you publish the findings of the exit poll and post poll. But sir, in any case, within a day or within 2 days or 3 days maximum, we are going to witness results. Election Commission is going to organize counting of votes and the results will be declared. So what is the utility of these exit polls and post polls? What can they do? Nothing. Then why do we carry out these exit polls and post polls? This is just a TRP exercise for media. TRP is television rating points. More and more people watching your news channel or your program, which means more and more TRPs, which means more and more ad revenue. Which means if I'm an advertiser, let's say, why do we publish an advertisement in the Hindu newspaper? Why? Because this is read by the civil services aspirants. Why this ad is not there in the Deccan Herald or in Times of India? It won't be, because Times of India is not read by the civil services aspirants. Similarly, if you want a slot, what is the best slot where you can convey your product, you can market your product? World Cup, Cricket World Cup, particularly when India is playing. That means you have to pick the right slot for your ad campaigns, which basically means if a program is watched by a large number of people, that means your advertisement, if it is displayed, will be conveyed to a large number of audience. Which means if these news channels, they conduct debates on exit poll, Congress is winning Rajasthan, BJP and Congress neck and neck in Madhya Pradesh, Bhupesh Begal, what's his name, Bagil, has an edge over BJP in Chhattisgarh, tight contest between BRS and Congress in Telangana. You want to see how people have voted for even before the results, because you anticipate. That's what happens when you have a result, when you have to see your results of the examination as well. Although you know that results would be declared tomorrow or 2 days later, you still go to the teacher. So please tell me, how many marks have you given to me in this paper? You go to all the teachers and then you add the marks and now you're satisfied or you're sad. That's the tendency of humans, which means TRP exercise is the only reason why we have exit poll and post polls. But opinion polls, which are published, which is carried out before the voting, it is not banned in India. There's only one restriction. The findings of the exit poll cannot be published during the period of election silence. Election silence, 48 hours before the end of the polling. In this period, no campaigning can take place. No rallies can be organized. No door-to-door campaigns can take place. Nothing can happen. No advertisement can take place. And it is in this period that opinion poll findings cannot be broadcast, cannot be published. That means before 48 hours, you can publish the findings, because it's only an opinion poll. It's not an exit poll. It's not a post poll, because opinions may change. That is what an opinion poll is. But are these opinion polls good, bad, or ugly? One, we have massive population in this country. Right or wrong? Yes. More than 80 crore eligible voters. 80 crore eligible voters. Out of these crores of voters, this pollster, this organization, conducts a survey of 10,000 odd people or 15,000 odd people, asking these 10,000, 15,000 odd people, who are you going to vote for? On the basis of those interviews conducted with the people, this organization comes up with a plan or comes up with a number saying BJP will win these many seats, Congress will win these many seats, this is going to be the vote share of the Congress, this is going to be the vote share of the BJP. Is it possible that just by interviewing 10,000, 15,000, or let's say 20,000 people, this organization can come up with a figure how 80 crore people are going to vote for? Is it possible? Yes. Why? Because this is what statistics is. And statistics is science. But you have to be very careful in choosing the sample. So the sample of 10,000 or 15,000 people that you're choosing, it should not only be from rural India, it should be from urban India as well. What is a sample? Sample is approximation of reality. You go to a salon, taking a haircut, and there the owner is telling you, sir, can you please try this shampoo? He's giving you a sachet. It's basically a sample. And when you try and test the sample, you will have an idea how the big bottle exactly will perform. So sample is the approximation of the reality. It's not a full reality, it's approximation, in the sense that although it is only 5 ml of sachet, but the bottle will be of 1 liter, whatever it is, 500 ml, 100 ml, 75 ml. Similarly, when you take this 20,000 sample, it is not equivalent to 80 crore voters, but it is approximation of it. That means the same percentage of Dalits would be part of the sample as we have in the country. It will be a mix of rural voters, urban voters, women and men, mix of young and old, those who are working, those who are unemployed, Hindus, Muslims, Christians, Sikhs. That means the sample is to be carefully chosen. And once we have chosen the sample carefully, then we can use various statistical models to come up with the seat share of political parties. Should it be allowed, or does opinion polls influence the minds of the voters? Voters can broadly be divided into two broad categories. One, committed voters. The others, fence sitters. I am committed to the ideology of the BJP or the Congress or the Communist Party of India Marxist. No matter what these opinion polls will tell me, I will still vote for my political party. I will not get influenced. Imagine it this way. There is a worker of the Congress Party, and in 2024, opinion poll results say that Congress is going to perform even badly in these elections. Will that stop this Congress worker from voting for the Congress? No, he will still vote for the Congress. Same goes for the BJP worker or CPIM worker. These are committed voters. There are voters who even today vote for Indira Gandhi. They don't care about anybody else. They still vote for Indira Gandhi. Very old women in far-off villages in India, they still vote for Indira Gandhi, although she's long dead. These are committed voters. And then there are fence sitters. They don't simply care, but they will go the way the wind is blowing. If people think that Congress is going to win the election, they would vote for the Congress because nobody wants to vote for the loser. Since opinion polls have the tendency of influencing these fence sitters, and these fence sitters are large in number, that is why there are talks and there have been demands in the past that opinion polls should be banned. Just like we ban exit poll and post poll, opinion polls should also be banned. That means if you want, after the voting is over, you can publish the findings of the opinion poll. During the voting, you should not publish the findings of the opinion poll. But you can't ban it. Why? Because opinion polls draw their strength from Article 19(1)(a) of the Constitution, which is freedom of speech and expression. There are voters who want to express who are they going to vote for. That means opinion polls, they draw their strength from freedom of speech and expression. Yes, freedom of speech and expression is not an absolute right. But are these opinion polls against the sovereignty of India, against the security of the state, against friendly relations with foreign countries, contempt of court, defamation, incitement to violence, immoral, or lacks morality or decency? So none of the restrictions which apply on your freedom of speech and expression applies to opinion polls. So opinion polls, long story short, cannot be banned because it draws its strength from Article 19(1)(a), and none of the restrictions on free speech applies or holds for opinion polls. Plus, opinion polls are a must in democratic societies because election is not a private affair. Election is not a matter between you and your God. Election is a public spectacle. And in this public affair, I want to know, I have the right to know, or I should have the right to know how others are making their choices. Why I should not be able to know this? I want to know before I decide to exercise my right to vote, how others are going to vote for. What is public opinion? Public opinion is in favor of a war with Pakistan. Public opinion is in favor of Israel and not Palestine. Public opinion is in favor of Mr. Modi coming back to power. Public opinion says that we should have a strong capitalist government. We should not indulge in socialistic measures. How do you know that this is the public opinion? Because every evening we switch on our TV, there's a screaming preacher in chief of a Republic TV saying the nation wants to know. And nobody asked him, how do you know the nation wants to know? And who is this nation? And once the nation had a strong meeting with Mr. Goswami and asked him, I have never asked these questions. Why do you quote me in your debates and saying the nation wants to know? I don't want to know. But what is this public opinion? You see these television channels and you see this host screaming at the top of his voice, and there are 8, 9 panelists. They criticize each other. They don't debate with each other. They shout at each other. And whatever they say, we assume that this is the public opinion. This is the mood of the public. And in fact, Mr. Goswami and others, they run polls on these news channels. How many people are in favor of a war with Pakistan? 99.99999% people says we are in favor of war. So what constitutes public opinion? Is this very tiny minority who pass off as experts on television channels, who write columns in the newspapers, and we assume that this is the public opinion. But what about the public opinion of those who are from marginalized communities, who don't have a voice in the media? You won't see a villager speaking as a panelist on the Republic TV or Times Now or whatever time it is. But in opinion polls, instead of going to these panelists, these organizations go to the real people. And when they interact with the real people on the ground, then they come up with a list. That these are the real 5 facts, these are the real 5 issues that people are going to decide who they want to vote for. It is unemployment, it is price rise, it is corruption, it is lack of infrastructure in our urban centers. These are the issues, not the other issues that Mr. Goswami says are the real issues the nation wants to know. That is why opinion polls are a must in democracy. It should not be banned. Number one, it cannot be banned because it draws its strength from freedom of speech and expression. And none of the restrictions on freedom of speech and expression applies to opinion polls, so you can't ban it. It must be encouraged. Why? Because we must recognize that systematic collection of public opinion is a must in modern democracies. Since elections are not a private act, citizens wish to and need to know how others are making up their mind. Survey-based tracking of the mood of the electorate performs that crucial role. Survey-based tracking, opinion polls, through questions, through surveys. In an unequal country like India, where a tiny but voluble elite is used to passing off its voice as public interest, scientific sample surveys of public opinions are one of the few ways in which the voice of the poor and the disadvantaged gets registered. That's why opinion polls should not be banned. But unfortunately, opinion polls have not lived up to their expectations. With some notable exceptions of today's Chanakya, My Access India, Center for the Study of the Developing Societies, these are few pollsters organizations which have carried out honest, genuine opinion polls. Otherwise, there are opinion polls who are funded by political parties. Political parties basically tell these organizations, take money, publish opinion poll, and tell the people that people are going to vote for me. That means through these mischievous opinion polls, the political parties, they tend to influence the minds of the voters. It's basically a bribe. That's why what we need, we don't need ban, but what we need regulation. We need certain disclosures. Banning pre-election opinion polls is a remedy worse than the disease it seeks to cure. There already exists a ban on publishing the findings of polls beginning 48 hours before polling until the last voter has cast a vote. This is a reasonable restriction, enough to safeguard against manipulations. But still, there should be disclosure. And what are the disclosures? You open a newspaper, you turn on the TV, and you're watching the broadcast where opinion poll results are being declared. But this news channel, this organization, will have to give some disclosures. Number one, who is the ownership of this organization? What is the ownership of this organization? Which means I am watching this opinion poll. Opinion poll says BJP is going to sweep Madhya Pradesh. This opinion poll is carried out by ABC. Owner of the ABC is the BJP MP. I will have to keep in mind that this is going to be biased opinion poll because this opinion poll, the owner of this organization is a BJP MP. What is the track record of this organization? Opinion poll says Congress sweeping Chhattisgarh. Who is this organization? Disclosure should be mentioned. Who is this organization? In the last 10 opinion polls, they have never hit the target. That means they're always wavered. They won't ever know how to predict the winner. This time also, I will not trust them. Opinion poll result says BJP is going to sweep Rajasthan. And this opinion poll, is sponsored by the BJP. Will you trust it? You won't. India's largest opinion poll declares BJP is going to sweep 2024 elections. What is the sample size? 500 people. Or 500 people, you can't judge how 80 crore people are going to vote for. So certain disclosures should be made. What is this organization? Which is this organization carrying out the survey? Who is the owner of this organization? What is the track record of this organization? Who is the sponsor of this opinion poll? What is the sample that you have taken? How you have taken this sample? What are the questions that you have been asking? How the questions are being framed? Because how questions are being framed also plays a very important role. For example, if I tell you, should we invest money in producing a nuclear weapon? Let's say I'm asking this opinion poll right now. I'll give you 15 seconds. There are two options. Should India be making nuclear weapons, investing money in making nuclear weapons now? 64% says yes. Now I will take another poll. Two options. Pakistan has already developed nuclear weapon yesterday. Should India be making a nuclear weapon today? Those who say yes may type A. Those who may say no may type B. %87% people say yes. Look at the difference. And this is not a big sample either. When you go out, it's not only the questions that you will be asking matter. It's also the way and the sequencing of these questions that will matter. Should India be investing in making a nuclear weapon? No. Yes. Pakistan has tested nuclear weapon yesterday. Should India be making a nuclear weapon? Yes. 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 Majority will say yes. All these disclosures should be made so that if I'm a viewer, if I'm a reader, I can check these disclosures and then decide whether I should trust this opinion poll or not. But what if there is an organization which publishes opinion poll, and in this opinion poll it says BJP is going to win the election? Once the result is declared, it is the Congress which has won the election. Now we may allege that this organization deliberately skewed the results or manipulated the results of these opinion polls so that voters can be swayed, influenced into voting for the BJP. After the election is over, we may ask this organization, show us your raw data. Give us your raw data. When you have conducted these surveys, these interviews, what is the question, what is the response given by the people? Give us the data so that we will now decide whether you have done it correctly or not, whether you have come up with the correct vote share or seat share based on that data. If not, then you will be accused, you will be guilty of influencing the minds of the voters, which is a corrupt practice, and we will ban you. So we don't need to ban opinion polls. We just need to regulate them so that they are indeed scientific surveys, which is important in our democracy. But to prevent political parties manipulating these opinion polls, misusing laws to fund these opinion polls, and then try to influence the minds of the voters, this is a corrupt practice. And for that, we need who is going to regulate these opinion polls. First option always is self-regulation. That means government stay away from it. Government should not interfere. Because if government lays down guidelines, regulates them, CSDs come here. You have carried out survey. This survey says that opposition is going to win the election. Don't publish it, otherwise, So government should stay away from this. Government should not be in a position, should not have the power to regulate these opinion polls. It should be self-regulation. Just like we have self-regulation in the media, self-regulation of the press. We have self-regulation of the OTT platforms, for example. That means all these pollsters, they will come together. All of them would agree that these are the guidelines that we should follow and let them regulate themselves. So that if they want, there are 10 organizations, 2 organizations are not doing it correctly, they can say that these 2 organizations are not part of this body, the body of Opinion Pollsters Association. If not self-regulation, then second option should be Election Commission of India. Election Commission of India should regulate all these opinion polls. This is what you need to know regarding opinion polls. Any questions? Okay. Now, once the results are declared, once the voting is over, then we also realize that voting percentages vary. Cities or urban areas, they come out in less numbers to vote. People in rural areas, they come out in large numbers to vote. 2008, 26/11 attacks happened in Mumbai, where terrorists came from Pakistan, used the sea route, hit the 5-star hotels, took people hostage and killed more than 300 innocent citizens. This was not only an attack on the financial capital of India, this also exposed our government's ability to control and to prevent such terror strikes. It talks about loopholes in our intelligence. It talks about loopholes in our security. It talks about loopholes in our preparedness against facing an enemy. After 26/11 attacks, Mumbai awoke. Mumbai is always awake, but awake to carry out their own personal needs. But this time, Mumbai was awake for the larger society. Candlelight marches were carried out. Enough is enough. Government should be accountable. Government should be accountable. Mr. Shivraj Patil was the Home Minister. He changed his dress 3 times in a single day, wearing one dress in the morning, then in the afternoon, then in the evening, because he was interacting with the media on a regular basis. And people realized, what is this guy doing? He's supposed to be the Home Minister in charge of the internal security. Instead, he's changing his dress 3 times in a single day. And then he was asked to resign. He resigned. Obviously, not only for changing his dress 3 times in a day, but because of his failure to prevent this attack. And then people realized that finally, we have these Mumbaikars, we have the people in Mumbai who have now awoken, and they are going to effect change in India. 2009 elections were held. Congress was voted back to power. This is not to suggest that Congress was responsible for that attack, but this is to tell you if people are really angry. When you're angry, you want to change the government. Maybe they would have changed the government, but they did not vote. Voting took place. Close to 50% people in Mumbai city, urban area, came out to vote. At that time, there was a demand. A furious Lal Krishna Advani said, those who do not vote, they should be stripped of their voting rights. Their names should be deleted from the electoral rolls. And over a period of time, one concept has gained currency, which is compulsory voting. What is this compulsory voting? If you are an eligible voter, if your name is mentioned in the voter list, and you are not in the hospital, you are not serving in the army in the border areas, you are not pregnant or infirm, everybody else will have to compulsorily vote. You don't have an option. Voting is no longer an option. Voting should be made compulsory. Should voting be made compulsory? Yes or no? But first thing that you have to take out of your mind is, can voting be made compulsory? We're saying, should voting be compulsory? Yes, or should voting be compulsory? No. But can it happen? Can voting be made compulsory? Then we can talk about should the government do this or not. But can it happen? Because we are in a democracy. Can in a democracy you will be forced to do something? Can we force people to come out in large numbers to vote? You don't have any other option, but you have to vote. Can it be possible? Can this force be there in a democracy? Yes. If it is for the larger public interest. The government can force you to pay tax in a democracy. The government is forcing you to wear helmet when you are riding a motorcycle for your larger public interest. The government is forcing you to have the insurance, forcing you. You need to have insurance for the larger public interest. The government is forcing you to wear seat belt when you're driving a vehicle for your own interest. And for your own interest, the government can force you, the state can force you to come out and vote in these elections. So if the first question on your mind is on the legality, whether it can happen or not, can it happen or not, you need to understand it can. And there are countries in the world where voting is compulsory, which we will discuss today. So the question should not be on the legal aspect, whether it can happen or cannot happen. What are the laws that you need to change for that? That should not be on your mind. The question should be on the moral side. Should voting be made compulsory or should it remain optional? And this is not a concept which originated in India. This is a concept which originated in the West. Political scientist Aaron Lippard, he wrote an article in the late 90s saying we need, and he wrote it in desperation, that we need to implement compulsory voting. Why? Because of 2 reasons. Number one, voters' apathy. Number two, declining legitimacy in democracies. What is this voters' apathy? There is voting going to take place today. Instead of voters lining up in queues outside the polling booth, we have seen voters lying in queue outside a restaurant or a movie hall or at a public scenic place. So voting day has become more or less like a picnic day, a holiday that you need to celebrate, and not a day that you should remember that you're an ideal citizen and you have to exercise your right to vote. Voters' apathy. Plus declining legitimacy of democracies in the world. Legitimacy? First past the post system, number one. At the peak of the Modi wave in 2014, the BJP could get 32% of votes. Congress said this government is illegitimate. Why? Because this government is not supported by the majority of the people, not supported by more than half of the people. So this government is illegitimate. 2019, again a peak of Modi wave. The government which was in power could get 37% support, which means 67% people or 63% people, they don't vote in favor of the ruling party. So there are people outside democracies who say it is our system which works better. Dictatorship works better. One party rule works better. Monarchy works better. Because even if you say that you are a democracy, is your government legitimate? How can you say your government is legitimate when more than half of the people don't support you? More than half of the voters do not support you. Aaron Clifford said, enough is enough. We need to do two things urgently. One, we need to do one thing urgently for two things, for two reasons. One, we need to implement compulsory voting. Why? Because voters' apathy is killing us. And there are people who are saying that democracies are not legitimate. Because when people don't vote and you have a government which is elected by the minority of votes, how can you call such government legitimate? That is why we need compulsory voting. And compulsory voting will have a lot of advantages. Number one, people's engagement with the democratic exercise increases. People's awareness will increase. Money power, muscle power would reduce. Legitimacy of the government increases. Government will become more responsive. These are all advantages of compulsory voting. What are the advantages? People's engagement with democratic exercises increases, which means when all the people, except those who are under different circumstances because of their health condition, because they're in the hospital or they can't move or they are outside the country, all those who are eligible to vote, when they come out to vote, that means people, maximum people are engaging with the democratic exercise. Pippa Norris, he looked at the data, those countries where we have compulsory voting and those countries where we don't have compulsory voting. Those countries where voting is compulsory, the voting percentage is more than 5.4%. That of the countries where voting is not compulsory. That means one thing is clear. Compulsory voting increases the voting percentage, which means it increases people's engagement with democratic exercises. It creates awareness among the people. Because when you have to go out and you have to vote, you will first think, who should I vote for? What have these political parties done? What is their ideology? What is their election manifesto? So if more and more people come out in large numbers and vote, traditionally people have been voting their caste. So you don't cast your vote, you vote your caste with E. If the member is from your caste, you vote for him. Now there are these people who are fence sitters, who have not been voting traditionally. That means they're not concerned about the caste politics or communal politics. Once you're forcing them to vote, now you will force them to think, I don't want to vote basis my caste or religion, but out of these candidates, who is the most educated candidate? Who is the candidate with least number of criminal cases? That means people will become more aware. Money power and muscle power will reduce. What is money power, muscle power? Today, I'm spending crores and crores of rupees on my voters. This is my constituency. It has, let's say, 5 lakh voters. I know we follow first past the post system. So I don't need 2.5 lakh people to vote for me. I just need a percentage. My cadre, my core supporters, they will form 15%. I need 15% more or 10% more because there are various other candidates also. If I can get that 10-15% voters, I will be able to win the election. Now I target these 10 to 15% voters. I give them money. I bribe them. That means my money power, or I use the muscle power, which basically means I will prevent my opponents, their voters, from voting. I will use gundas to ensure that whoever is opposed to me, their voters will not reach the polling booth. Now, if voting is made compulsory, in any case, everybody will come out and vote. When everybody will come out and vote, previously I thought not all these 5 lakh people will be voting. Voting percentage is 50%, 60%, 70%. Let's assume that 4 lakh people are voting. Out of them, I don't even need 2 lakh votes. I would need 1.5 lakh votes. My supporters are 75,000 because that is the strength of my political party, cadres, their workers, and then core supporters. So I need 50,000 more. And I will target these 50,000 people, give them bribe, or use muscle power to prevent others from voting. Now, when everybody has to vote, which means all these 5 lakh people will have to vote, I cannot bribe all of them because I don't have that much money. Even if I would have, I would not be able to bribe all. Which means over a period of time, I will stop paying bribe. Because first I had to bribe these people. Please come out and vote. Take 2,000 rupees, but please, don't oversleep. Please come out and vote for me tomorrow. But when in any case they are coming, why should I pay them? Even if I pay them, it's a waste of vote. It's a waste of money. And you can't now have your gundas to prevent others from voting because they have to vote that, otherwise they will be penalized. So they will not stop you. All these are the advantages. Legitimacy of the government will also increase. Because now we can say that if BJP was supported by 32% of the population, but the voting percentage itself was 70%. If voting percent goes to 90% or 95%, Congress or the BJP, whichever forms the government, will get more than 50% of the votes, ideally. Which ultimately means that this government will be considered legitimate, supported by the majority of the people. And it will also make government responsive. Today, when we criticize political parties have a ready-made answer for that. Why are you criticizing us? When it is the time of voting, you don't vote, but then you expect everything from the government. First vote, then expect. Now people can say, we have voted, and now we expect. Give us good governance. All these would be possible if voting is made compulsory. But when we look at the global practice, there are close to 14 countries of the world where voting is made compulsory. Prominent ones are Australia, Belgium, Brazil, Peru. These are the countries where voting is still compulsory. There was a report given by International Institute for Democracy and Electoral Assistance. According to this report, compulsory voting has become a dying phenomenon in Europe. Many countries previously which had compulsory voting, they have either removed compulsory voting or they have stopped enforcing compulsory voting. Why? Because it is difficult, almost impossible to enforce. In Austria, for example, it was abandoned in 1982. Why? Because they said it's difficult to enforce. How can we force people to vote? How can we enforce this? Spain, Italy, Netherlands, all have had provisions for compulsory voting, but they've decided to make voting optional. Chile in 2012, Fiji in 2014, Greece in 2000, they have either removed compulsory voting or have simply stopped enforcing compulsory voting. Why? Because it is difficult to enforce. But does compulsory voting increase turnout? I told you about the Harvard professor Pippa Norris, who showed that the average voter turnout in countries with some form of compulsory voting was 5.4% higher than in countries where voting was optional. But even then, there are those who say voting should not be made compulsory. Why? My name is on the electoral roll. Whoever is mentioned in this electoral roll, they have to vote compulsorily, or they have to give the reason why they are not voting. Maybe they're injured, maybe they're in the hospital, maybe they're sick, or maybe they have to tend to an ailing patient, or maybe they're physically disabled. They have to give the reasons. Which primarily means if I don't want to vote, and I don't want to vote, what I will do, I will basically remove my name from the electoral roll. I will come out of the electoral roll. Or when this electoral roll is to be refreshed, where the election commission will ask, give us your details so that we can update your details on the electoral roll, I will avoid appearing in this electoral register. That is one problem when you make voting compulsory. You're basically incentivizing people that you avoid appearing on the electoral roll itself. And even those who will be forced to work, they might actually spoil the ballots by voting randomly. Randomly in the sense, today we have voting which is optional. Listen to me carefully. Voting is optional. Even then the voting percentage is 70%, 80% in some cases. That means there are 20, 30% people who don't vote. Why? Because they simply don't care. That's the only reason. Or they're busy. But basic reason is they simply don't care. But those people who vote, they keep a lot of consideration in mind. That is how they decide who to vote for. Maybe they're voting for their own caste. Maybe they're voting for their own religion. Maybe they're voting because they respect the ideology of a political party. Maybe they're voting out of anger because we want to throw out this government. That is why we need to vote for the different political party. That means they have thought out. That's how you come out and vote. Without thinking, you will not exercise your right to vote. Maybe you have gone out to vote because you were paid money, liquor, biryani, whatever, by the political parties. But you have at least thought through. But these 20, 30% people who have never voted or who don't vote regularly, when you're forcing them to vote, how will they vote? They will vote randomly. Maybe they will vote based on the Twitter trends or X.com now as it is called. Maybe they will vote for various YouTube campaigns. So there's a campaign on YouTube. I'm telling people vote for me. Basis that people will decide, okay, I want to vote for him. Despite the fact that they have no idea about me. I'm voting for this candidate because I saw him on Twitter. I'm voting for this candidate because I saw a YouTube ad. I don't know anyone else. And this happened in US. This happened in Australia, where they had some form of a donkey vote. What is this donkey vote? There's an electronic voting machine. In Australia, voting is compulsory. So people have to necessarily go to the polling booth and vote. So when people go to polling booth, they press the first button on the electronic voting machine and then they go. Since voting is compulsory, they have to do something else as well, but they have to get rid of this voting as well. So what they do, they quickly go to the polling booth, press the first button on an electronic voting machine and then go. An analysis was conducted and it was found out that donkeys are getting elected to the parliament. Who are these donkeys? Useless candidates who have no way, who could have had no chance whatsoever to win the election. Useless candidates, irrelevant candidates. They don't even belong to good political parties. So absolutely they had no reason to win the election. Yet they have won the election. Why? Because their name appeared first on the electronic voting machine. Then people realize maybe because we are forcing people to vote, they're spoiling the ballot. They're getting donkeys elected to the parliament. So it may happen tomorrow as well. Since you are forcing us to vote, we will vote for a candidate you would have never expected. So BJP Congress got together to enforce compulsory voting. We will vote for an independent who had absolutely no reason to win the election. So if you are forcing people to vote, votes for none of the above or spoiled ballots are much more prevalent with compulsory voting. And at the same time, the most powerful objection to compulsory voting, it criminalizes non-voting. It gives power to the state that it can harass an individual. I don't want to vote. Why should I be criminalized for that? Why should the state harass me? Why did you not vote? It's a free society. We are a democracy. And in a democracy, I should have the option of disengagement. What is disengagement? I simply don't care who is going to be the prime minister or the chief minister. I will still pay my taxes. And whenever I think about it, I pay taxes, but I don't see the quality of roads increasing, quality of hospitals increasing, quality of schools increasing, and getting better and better. I don't want to engage with the system. I want to disengage. In a democracy, this opinion is also important. Who are these people who are disengaging from the system? But if the state is forcing you to vote, telling you, Baba, this is in your interest, this is undemocratic paternalism. This is like your parents telling you, you should opt for engineering because it is good for you. We are telling you for your own interest. But what's that name? What's the name of that guy? I forgot. The guy played in Three Idiots by Farhan Qureshi. Farhan Qureshi wanted to be a wildlife photographer. But his father, no, you need to be an engineer. And we are telling you for your own betterment. This is like the father is like the Indian state. Farhan Qureshi is the voter. He is being forced to pursue engineering, which means forced to vote. And the father, the state is saying this is for your own benefit. I want to disengage. I don't want to engage with the system. That should be the conclusion of your answer. And this is something that you can write. Democratic participation is a laudable value. But as a flourishing democracy requires a diversity of dispositions, including the option of disengagement. Voting is an important duty, but giving the state coercive power, ostensibly in the name of saving the people from themselves, is undemocratic paternalism. We're telling people that it is for your own interest, although it is not. This is undemocratic paternalism. Voting must remain an act of choice, not propelled by coercion or inducement. Neither the state should coerce you into voting, nor should you be bribed into voting for a candidate. Voting must remain an act of choice. But depending upon what question is asked, these are the advantages, and there are some disadvantages as well. This can be your conclusion. Rest, all the best. Any questions? So bureaucrats have voting rights. Everybody has voting rights. So discuss governance. Check the timetable, check the schedule, the year-long timetable that is provided to you. You will see there's a slot for governance. This is only for polity. Armed force people, they get to vote. Yes, they have a system called postal ballot. That means they will vote there wherever they are, but those will be sent via post to their constituency. And in that constituency, these votes will be counted. That is why when 8 o'clock on the counting day, elections are being conducted in 5 states, then results will be declared. Once the votes are being counted, check out that early in the morning, you will see when the votes are being counted, the news anchors would say, don't trust these votes yet because these are postal ballots. So first postal ballots, and army votes in a different fashion. So first postal ballots are counted, then EVMs are counted. And why you should not trust the postal ballot to tell you which way the wind is blowing? Because when you count EVMs are from the polling booth. So people may have decided together who they are going to vote for. But since these armed forces members, they are at a distance, they are at the borders, they will have no way to decide to understand how people in their constituency are going to vote for. So their thinking may be different. Sometimes it can be same as well, but can be different as well. So postal ballots, once they are counted, they're small in number and they don't tell you the mood in which the people of that state has really voted for. What about to vote for NRIs? NRI is a non-resident Indian. If his or her name is mentioned in the voter list, you have the right to vote. But for that, you have to come to India and vote. There is one proposal proposed by the Election Commission known as remote EVM that we will discuss in electoral reforms slightly later. Okay, let's look at some of the direct democratic devices. First is right to recall. What is a direct democratic device? We have a representative democracy. That means we elect our representatives, and then these representatives make laws for us. People do not directly form the government. They elect their representatives, and representatives form the government. So we are an indirect democracy. But even in indirect democracy, there are some devices which can give the flavor of direct democracy. That's what we call direct democratic devices. One such device is right to recall. Anna Hazare in 2011 launched a campaign, India Against Corruption, and he also called for right to recall. And what is this right to recall? Chichi, the nickname given to Mr. Govinda, contested elections in 2004 on a Congress ticket. Won the election from Mumbai, became the member of the Lok Sabha. Miss Sonia Gandhi, she was all set to become the Prime Minister, but then she said, I'm listening to my conscience. My conscience does not allow me to become the Prime Minister. Dr. Manmohan Singh will be my candidate. If you want, make Manmohan Singh as the Prime Minister. Various other Congress leaders who had assembled there, they cried, wept bitterly. Govinda also, because previously he was hero number one. Now he wanted to become a Neta number one. And as Neta number one, he's crying, Madam Gandhi, we want you to become the Prime Minister. Please, 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 please. He was present there, but he was never present in the Lok Sabha. Sunny Paji, present in all the promotional campaigns for Gadar 2, whether it is Kapil Sharma show or now Coffee with Karan on Disney Hotstar. Present there, but not present in the Lok Sabha. In fact, he has issued a notification a few years ago, appointing a friend as a representative of the constituency, saying if people have any problems, you approach that individual, because I will be busy in my movies. So you may, as a voter, make a mistake of appointing or electing somebody. But if that individual is not living up to your expectations, should you wait for the entire term to get over, which is 5 years? Or should you be having the power to recall that individual? Govinda, you're recalled. Sunny Paji, you're recalled. XYZ, you're recalled because you have not satisfied us. That is right to recall. But this right to recall is absent at the central and state level. That means in Lok Sabha or state assembly elections, we don't have a right to recall. You have to wait for 5 years. Once the 5-year term is over, if they contest elections again, don't vote for them or vote for someone else. But you don't have the power to recall an individual. But right to recall is present at Panchayati Raj level in some states. For example, Bihar, Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, these are some of the states where there is a right to recall. That means if you have elected a councillor, if you have elected a member to a Panchayati Raj institution, whether it's Gram Panchayat or Panchayat Samiti or Zilla Parishad, you may also be recalled if you fail to live up to the expectations of the people. So right to recall as a democratic device, as a direct democratic device, is not present at the central level, at the state level, but is present in few states at the local level, in Panchayati Raj and municipalities. But there are individuals, institutions who are in favor of right to recall. They're saying it should be implemented because it will force political parties to give tickets to serious candidates. Political party gives tickets. Why? Because political party wants these people to win so that they have the majority and they can form the government. So today political parties are unconcerned whether they give ticket to serious candidates or not, because they just want to win. Have a big Bollywood face or a big cricketer face, give them tickets so that through their popularity they can win the election. And even after that, they don't take care of the constituency. Nothing happens to them because they know the stability of the government is intact. But if right to recall is there, today political parties then will be forced to give tickets to serious candidates, because after 2 years, after 3 years, if people are not satisfied with this candidate, they will recall him. That means today we have 100 MLAs in Legislative Assembly. If we are giving tickets to 20 non-serious candidates, which means we will lose these 20 people under right to recall. That means our government stability will be under threat. That is why instead of giving tickets to non-serious candidates, we will give tickets to serious candidates. More accountability. Today, as a politician, I have to contest election. I go before the people, beg them. I am with so humility, I approach the people, what can I do for you? Vote for me. Please come to the polling booth. Take this 2,000 rupee note, take this biryani, take this liquor, and today even drugs are given. Once the election is over, the same person who I begged for, I don't even give him the appointment to meet me. 5 years later, I come back. Hello. All good? You have been taken care of? Really? I was not knowing. You should have come to me. Why did you not come to me? I'm sorry, I won't repeat this mistake again. But if I know that I have to go back to the people after 5 years, it will take me some time. I will chill for 4 years, and then in the last year or last few months, I will go and meet people again. But if I ignore my constituency all this while, but if right to recall is a practice there, it basically means I will always be on tender hooks. I will frequently meet the people of my constituency, take care of their problems, assuage their grievances. Otherwise, I will be recalled. So right to recall should be implemented. Why? Because it will make the political representatives accountable to the people. And at the same time, it will force political parties to give tickets to serious candidates as against the non-serious candidates. But there are others who say no, it should not be. Because Law Commission of India also says that we are not in favor of right to recall. Why? Because it leads to access of democracy. Give voters the choice to choose their representative for 5 years. You can't be giving them choice after choice. This will be access democracy. So I elected somebody today. After 1 year, I want to recall. Then I have to send someone else. Then I will recall again. This will lead to an access. It will lead to wastage of time, resources, money. We will have to conduct and organize frequent elections. It undermines the independence of elected candidates. I have been elected. There are some policies that I have for my constituency. But these policies will take 2 years, 3 years, 4 years to materialize, to mature. That means I will not now think of my constituency as a long-term project. I will think of my constituency as a short-term project. I have to give to the people of my constituency something that they can value today. But what if what they need will materialize after 4 years? I will not implement that policy. Why? Because I want quick satisfaction of my constituency. Otherwise, they will recall me. It will ignore minority interests. Because from this constituency, if I got elected, I was supported by all the members of my constituency, different communities of my constituency. But suddenly a major community, a major religious group, or a major caste group, they want to recall me. They can recall me. And minorities, they will lose their representative. It will lead to instability and chaos. Because today, once the government is elected, you know that these are going to be your MLAs. But now you don't know for how long. Because after a year, 2 years, 3 years, majority of them may be recalled by their people. So I, as a chief minister, instead of focusing on the governance, I will focus on keeping my MLAs together so that they are not recalled by the people. All these are the reasons why Law Commission of India says right to recall should not be implemented. But right to recall has some benefits as well. So first direct democratic device is right to recall. The second is referendum. What is referendum? Government refers a matter to the people and puts this matter to vote. Whatever the results of this vote will now be binding on the government. For example, one matter, whether Britain should be part of EU or not, European Union or not. This matter was referred by the government to the people of Britain, asking the people of Britain, you vote, whether Britain should remain part of European Union or not. 51% people said, no, it should not remain part of Britain, or part of European Union. 49% said, yes, Britain should remain part of EU. The majority said no, the results were binding on the government. Government took steps to take Britain out of European Union. But do you know what? Next day after this voting, what was the major search on Google? What is European Union? Law Commission of India is not a constitutional body. It's not a statutory body either. It is an extra constitutional body, extra constitutional, non-statutory body. So once this vote was carried out in Britain, the next day Google came up with its report and said majority people are searching what is European Union. So if you are referring this matter to the people, asking the people you decide how you want this matter to be solved, it may also lead to a result which is not reflective of the public sentiment. But referendum is something that is absent in India. There is no such provision of referendum in India. There should be. For example, government can refer to the public whether we should implement universal basic income in India or not. And whatever people decide should be acceptable to the government. Government should take steps to implement this. That is what we call a referendum. But referendum is government referring any matter to the public. And then there's a vote. If the government is referring a matter which is political, only political in nature, to the people, that's what we call plebiscite. Then I have to erase this. The government referring a matter which is only political in nature, asking the people to vote on this matter, that is plebiscite. And this is also known as right to self-determination. Referendum is government referring any matter to the public, asking people to vote on this matter, and we will decide whether we will accept your decision or not. Referendum. That means when the government is referring this matter, at that time, it says whether this vote is binding or not. For example, government referring a matter to the public. Should there be a uniform civil code in India? And the government, while referring this matter, announces whether this result of referendum is going to be binding on us or not. Whether we are using referendum just to see the mood of the people, or we are using this referendum to basically tell the government what you have to do, whether the result will be binding on the government or not. And in referendum, any matter, whether it is social matter, economic matter, political matter, can be sent to the people. But the result of the plebiscite is always binding on the government. When the government is referring a matter of politics, a political matter which affects sovereignty, and what is that political matter? Plebiscite in Jammu and Kashmir. People will be asked whether you want to stay with India or you want to join Pakistan. That means the answer to this question affects the sovereignty of that individual, of that entity, of that state, of that country. That is what we call the right to self-determination. People will get to decide their political nature, their political decision, whether they want to be part of this country or they want a different country. That is plebiscite. And the result, the findings of plebiscite is always binding on the government. But plebiscite also is a concept that is not present in India, that is not guaranteed by the constitution. Then we have initiative. Instead of government referring a matter to the public, this is the initiative of the people. They initiate a matter and give it to the government. And the government has to accept that initiative. For example, in Uruguay and various other countries, the people initiated saying a right to safe drinking water should also be part of our fundamental rights chapter. So the initiative came from the public. Now public is saying that right to safe drinking water should be a fundamental right. When this matter reached the government, which was initiated by the people, the government had to accept this. That means the government accepted the initiative of the public. That's what we call initiative. But this initiative also is absent in India. So what we have out of all the direct democratic devices, such as right to recall, referendum, initiative, plebiscite, we have only right to recall, that too, and some states that too at the local level, not at the central and the state level. Clear? So is it justified to give such political position to actors and unprofessional people? Why are we not yet setting these criteria to admit into politics? That, my dear, is your fault. You should not vote for these candidates. But if people vote for their candidates, such candidates, after that you should not be complaining. And don't put it on the political party. Don't put it on BJP or the Congress. They know people love these candidates. And they know for a fact that they know that these candidates would not be for them once they're elected. Yet they vote for them. That's no problem. Is referendum also binding? Referendum, while government is referring this matter, in that notification, it will mention whether this result is binding on us or not. If they mention it is binding, it is binding. If they mention it is not binding, we are just trying to elicit opinion, it won't be binding. Okay. Now let's look at political parties. Or do you need a break? So today is my birthday. Please wish me happy birthday, Sabha. Is it Sabha or Sabha? Sabha means morning. Okay. Okay, we'll take a break. Let's meet 7:50. See you on the other side of the break. My dear, it's not my birthday. It's Sabha's birthday, not mine. Don't wish. Shall we start? Okay. Now let's look at political parties. A political party is a group of people with the intention of capturing political power. That means a group of people who, through elections, their principal objective is to form the government. Now, if there is a group of people with a common ideology, but their intention is not to form the government, it can be an NGO, it can be a pressure group. But for a group of people to come together to be declared as a political party, it should be with the objective of capturing political power, contesting elections, and forming government. So if there is a party which is not contesting elections, which is not there to form the government, we don't call such a party as a political party. It can be any other group. But for a group of people to come together with the sole intention of capturing political power, with the sole objective of taking part in the elections to form the government, such a group is a political party. Now, some of these political parties are registered with Election Commission of India. All political parties, now we know what's a political party. If it wants benefit from the Election Commission of India, it has to register itself with the Election Commission of India. And all these political parties who are registered with the Election Commission of India, those are what we call registered political parties. And over a period of time, some of these registered political parties are recognized by Election Commission of India, recognized as either a national political party or a state political party. Long story short, a group of people who come together to contest elections, to form the government, whose principal intention is to capture political power, such a group is a political party. If it is registered with the Election Commission of India, we call it a registered political party. There are some political parties which are not registered with the Election Commission of India. That means these are unregistered political parties. But those political parties which are registered with the Election Commission of India, only these registered political parties over a period of time can be recognized by Election Commission of India, either as national political party or a state political party. But after meeting some conditions. What are these conditions? How can we declare a political party a state political party? For example, Samajwadi Party in Uttar Pradesh, Telugu Desam Party in Andhra Pradesh, Bharatiya Rashtriya Samiti in Telangana, Biju Janata Dal in Odisha. These are all registered with the Election Commission of India but recognized as state political party. How? Condition number one, if it secures 6% of the valid votes polled in the state at the general election to the respective state assembly and also wins 2 seats in the same state legislative assembly. Legislative assembly elections have been conducted in Uttar Pradesh. Can Samajwadi Party be declared as a state political party? Yes. If in this election it gets 6% of all the valid votes, that means in all the 403 constituencies, when we will count the votes, if Samajwadi Party gets 6% of all these valid votes, also 2 seats in the legislative assembly, then it is a recognized political party, recognized state political party. If not, it secures 6% of the total valid votes in the state at the general election to Lok Sabha, also wins 1 seat in Lok Sabha from the same state. Now, what if it is not a legislative assembly election? What if it's a Lok Sabha election? In all the 80 constituencies, if Samajwadi Party gets 6% of the valid votes and also wins 1 Lok Sabha seat, then it is a recognized state political party in Uttar Pradesh. If not, it wins 3% of the seats in the legislative assembly or 3 seats in the assembly, whichever is more. Let's say there are 100 seats in a legislative assembly. A political party is contesting the election. If it wins 3% of these seats, that means 3 or 3 seats, whichever is more. For that matter, if this assembly has 200 seats and this political party wins 6 seats, which is 3% of 200, it is a recognized state political party. If it wins 3 seats, it is still not a recognized state political party. Because either you have to win 3% of the seats or 3 seats, whichever is more. If not, if it wins 1 seat in Lok Sabha for every 25 seats, there are 75 seats, for example, in Madhya Pradesh, for example, otherwise that's 29. If there are 75 seats in Madhya Pradesh, and if this political party wins 1 seat for every 25 seats, that means total it wins 3 seats, it will be a recognized state political party. If not, if it secures 8% of the total valid votes polled in the state. Now forget about the number of seats you win. Even if you don't win any seat, but you have bagged 8% of the valid votes which have been polled. For example, it's a Lok Sabha election or a legislative assembly election. My political party, it did not win any seat, but it got 8% of all the valid votes. My political party will be recognized as a state political party of this state. If any of these conditions are satisfied, then Samajwadi Party becomes a state political party of Uttar Pradesh. And if this political party gets the same performance, is declared a state political party in 4 or more states, then it is recognized as a national political party throughout the country. That means a political party which meets these criteria, any of these criteria, will be a state political party. Now, if this political party replicates this performance in 4 or more states, that means in 4 or more states it is declared as a state political party, it will be recognized as a national political party. Who? Election Commission of India. What is the criteria for that? Let's say I have set up a new political party, and my political party contested elections in 4 or more states. And on all these 4 or more states, I am recognized as a state political party. I will be now declared by the Election Commission of India as a recognized national political party. What if I set up a political party today? Now I am contesting Lok Sabha elections or assembly elections. If my candidates have scored at least 6% of the total valid votes in at least 4 states, and the party has at least 4 MPs, or if it has won at least 2% of the total seats in Lok Sabha from at least 3 states, these are the conditions that you have to remember. You have to memorize. My political party, it contested elections. There are 543 seats. If my political party gets at least 2% of these seats, which means 10 seats, but these 10 seats should be from at least 3 states. If my political party contests Lok Sabha election in the entire country, and I have bagged 10 seats. But these 10 seats have only come from UP, that means from one state. Or 5 from UP, 5 from Madhya Pradesh, that means from 2 states. I will not be a national political party. I will be a state political party in these 2 states. At least from 3 states, if I get these 10 seats, I will be a recognized national political party. And a political party which is recognized as a state political party in 4 or more states is known as a national political party. And how many national political parties do we have as of now? Aam Aadmi Party recently was declared as a national political party because it is declared as a state political party in 4 or more states, including union territories. For example, Delhi, Punjab, Goa, Delhi, Goa, Gujarat. In 4 states, it has bagged more votes, which meets the criteria of a state political party. It's a state political party in 4 or more states. It's a now national political party. BJP, Congress, CPIM, Bahujan Samaj Party, and National People's Party, which is the first party from Northeast to be given the status of a national political party. This is led by Conrad Sangma, who is the Chief Minister of Meghalaya. Clear? But what are the benefits? Benefit number 1, when there is an electronic voting machine, and the names are to be added on the electronic voting machine. Names are added in the alphabetical order. First will be national political party. That means all the national political parties, their candidates in alphabetical order. They will get first slot. Then state political party, their candidates in alphabetical order. Then recognized political parties, who are recognized, registered political parties. Then unregistered political parties. Then independent candidates. And then the last button is nota. Okay? It has certain privileges. If Aam Aadmi Party was not a national political party, listen to me carefully. Broom is the symbol of Aam Aadmi Party. If Aam Aadmi Party is not a national political party, but it has to contest election from, let's say, UP, it may not be given broom as a symbol. It may be given any other symbol. If it contests election in Chhattisgarh, it may not be given broom as a symbol. It can be given any other symbol. But if it's a national political party, it will be given this symbol in every part of the country. That means from now onwards, Aam Aadmi Party, wherever it will contest elections, whether in Andhra Pradesh or Tamil Nadu or Kerala or any other state, it will be given the same symbol, which is the broom. It will get free time for campaigning. That means free slots will be given to Aam Aadmi Party at Doordarshan All India Radio to campaign in the elections. It will be given access to electoral rolls as well. 2 copies of electoral rolls will be given to Aam Aadmi Party because it's now a national political party. These parties are allowed to have 40-star campaigners during the time of elections. Registered or unrecognized parties are allowed to have 20-star campaigners. What does that mean? There is a spending limit. What is the amount of money that you can spend in the election? If it's a Lok Sabha election, for a large constituency, 90 lakhs you have to spend. If it's a small constituency, 75 lakhs is what you can spend. If it's a legislative assembly election, for a large constituency, you can spend 40 lakh rupees. For a small constituency, you can spend 28 lakh rupees. So I'm a candidate contesting elections. Let's say to Lok Sabha or legislative assembly, large constituency or small constituency. Let's assume my constituency is large in terms of geographical spread. I can spend 90 lakh rupees. That means whatever I spend, whether it is on fuel, whether it is on boarding, whether it is on travel, whether it is for publicity material printing, for example, I'm printing pamphlets, I'm printing posters, the entire money that I spend, I have to keep track of it, keep note of it, keep account of this spending. Because after the election, I have to deposit this with Election Commission of India. All the details of my spending, I have to deposit with the Election Commission of India. Tell Election Commission of India that this is where I have spent the money, and I have spent money which is under 90 lakh rupees. But what if I bring Mr. Modi to campaign in my constituency? So the chopper ride of Mr. Modi, the security apparatus for Mr. Modi, more and more number of people will attend this rally. So whatever I will be spending on Mr. Modi as well, that should also come under my expenses. Which primarily means only one campaign of Mr. Modi, only one rally of Mr. Modi, and I will be spending entire 90 lakh rupees. This is where the idea of star campaigners comes into the picture. That means when the elections are announced, all political parties are told by the Election Commission of India, you give us a list of who are your star campaigners. If you are a recognized national political party or a state political party, recognized party, you can have 40 star campaigners. If it is an unrecognized, unregistered political party, you can have 20 star campaigners. Which basically means whatever money is spent on these star campaigners will not be added to my expenses list. That means if I'm from the Congress and Shri Rahul Gandhi, Srimati Sonia Gandhi, Priyanka Gandhi, Mr. Mallikarjun Kharge, Mr. Jairam Ramesh, these are star campaigners set up by Congress party, Mr. Sachin Pilot. In my constituency, when they will come to campaign for me, their expenses, whatever money is spent on them, will not be counted in my expenses. The benefit is that if you are a recognized political party, you can have 40 star campaigners. But if you are an unrecognized, unregistered political party, you can have only 20. That's the benefit. The benefit is every national party is allotted a symbol exclusively reserved for its use throughout the country. That means even in the states where it does not contest the elections, it will use broom as the election symbol. For a state party, the allotted symbol is exclusively reserved for its use in the state in which it is recognized. What is the symbol of the Samajwadi Party? Cycle. What is the symbol of the Telugu Desam Party? Symbol, the cycle. What is the symbol of Jammu and Kashmir Panthers Party? That's also a cycle. So if Samajwadi Party has to contest elections in Andhra Pradesh, will it be given cycle as a symbol? No. Why? Because Samajwadi Party is a recognized state political party in UP. If it wants to contest election in Andhra, it has to take a different symbol. Clear? But if you are a national political party, you can use your symbol in all the states. Clear? Not just this, there is another benefit. Let's say, for example, voting is on 1st of January 2024. And 31st December, or before the voting, one candidate dies. What will happen to the election in this constituency? This is my constituency. There are 12 candidates contesting the election. Voting is today. 2 days before, 3 days before, 4 days before, one candidate dies. What will happen to the election in this constituency? Will the election continue or not? Depends. If this candidate is an independent candidate, election continues. If this candidate is from a registered political party, election continues. But if this candidate is from a recognized political party, that means the candidate is from a national political party or a state political party, election will not happen. That means in this constituency, election will not happen. This political party, who lost its candidate because of death, this political party, this recognized political party will be told, you set up another candidate and then we will have election in this constituency. These are the benefits of a national political party or a state recognized political parties. And all these recognized political parties, they are given land at a prominent location for setting up of their offices. That means at subsidized rates, at cheap market rates, they are provided land at prominent locations in the cities where they can set up their political offices, their headquarters. That's the benefit of a recognized political party. So what is a political party? A group of people who come together with the sole intention of contesting elections and forming the government. Some of these political parties are not registered with the Election Commission of India. We call them unregistered political parties. Some of them are registered with Election Commission of India. We call them registered political parties. Over a period of time, some of these registered political parties may be recognized by Election Commission of India, recognized as either state political party or a national political party. And what is the criteria for a state political party? These are the criteria. And if you're declared state political party in 4 or more states, you become a national political party. And it is the responsibility of the Election Commission of India to grant this recognition. This year itself, 3 political parties were deprived of their national party status. Which were these 3 political parties? Nationalist Congress Party, All India Trinamool Congress, Communist Party of India. These 3 political parties were previously, before this, at the beginning of this year, these were the national political parties. But when their performance was analyzed in states, they could not get the state political party status in more than 4 states, in 4 or more states. That is why they were stripped and deprived of their national party status. Clear? Why Aam Aadmi Party became national political party? Because it is recognized as a state political party in 4 or more states. Delhi, Punjab, Gujarat, Goa, their performance was such that they were able to get the votes. If not seats in Goa, but vote share. Seats as well as vote share in Gujarat. Seats as well as vote share in Delhi and Punjab. In fact, it has a good presence in Madhya Pradesh as well. It is a national political party. Now let's look at electoral reforms. First, electoral reform. I told you expenses. If I'm contesting Lok Sabha election from a large constituency, I have to spend within 90 lakhs. And whatever expenses I have occurred, I have to deposit this with Election Commission of India. That is what we call electoral expenses account. That means I can spend in my elections only 90 lakh rupees. And for that, I have to maintain an account where I mention where I have spent the money, what are my expenditures. Because after the election is over, I have to deposit this account with Election Commission of India, share the details with Election Commission of India. But from what date till what date do I have to maintain this account? From the date of the nomination to the date of the declaration of results. That means when nomination was issued, which means when I filed my nomination papers, till the declaration of results, whatever money I have spent in this period, I have to maintain an electoral expenses account, then deposit after the election with Election Commission of India, so that I can prove that I have not spent more than the limit. But the problem is, let's assume my constituency votes in the 9th phase. Clear? That means after the 8th phase of elections, 9th phase voting will take place. When do I file nomination papers? Maybe in the 7th phase or 8th phase. That means from that date till the declaration of results, whatever money I have spent, I have to maintain the electoral expenses account. But when do I actually start spending the money? Even before the 7th phase. That means when the Election Commission of India announces the dates, from that time till the voting is over, I am spending the money. But the money I am spending from the date elections were announced till the filing of my nomination papers, I don't have to tell anybody how much money I have spent. That is why Mr. Venkaiah Naidu, who was the Vice President of India, he said it rightly. He said we spent 2 crores, 3 crores rupees in an election. So this limit is very bad. It's a very small limit. Then how do you get away with? By spending more than the limit which is prescribed by the law, by the Representation of the People Act. It is possible because you are told to maintain this account from the date you file your nomination papers till the declaration of results. But the real money you are spending before that, when the dates are announced by Election Commission of India, when the notification is issued by the President or the Governor, from that date you are spending the money. So the electoral reform number 1 is we should amend Section 77 of the Representation of the People Act, so that you need to maintain this electoral expenses account from the date of notification of election till the declaration of results. That means if my constituency votes in the 9th phase, from that time till the declaration of results, whatever money I spend, I have to maintain the electoral expense account. So reality is I spend money even before that, from the date notification is issued by the President or the Governor, from that date till the declaration of results. That is how I get away with this law. That is how I spend crores and crores of rupees in the election. Reform number 1 would be this period of which you have to maintain this electoral expenses account should be extended from the date of nomination of the elections till the declaration of results. That's reform number 1. Reform number 2. This electoral expenses account I have to present to the Election Commission of India after the election. What if I fail to submit it to Election Commission of India? I will be disqualified because you have something to hide. You said you have to spend within, the law says you have to spend within 90 lakhs, but your expenses account is of 2 crore rupees. If you submit this account with Election Commission of India, it will disqualify you. And you are not submitting it with Election Commission of India. Even the Election Commission of India will disqualify you. But this disqualification is for 3-year period. Which means if I won the election today, let's say within 45 days, I have to lodge this account with Election Commission of India, telling Election Commission of India that I have spent within the limit. Election Commission of India will then look at your expenses and will also look at those expenses which you have not mentioned in your account. For example, in your account, you mentioned this much money for boarding, this much money for lodging, this much money for food, this much money for stationery, this much money for printing, this much money for stationery. All these expenses are within 90 lakhs. Clear? This much money for advertisement, this much money for advertisement. This is the amount of money that you've spent. It is within 90 lakhs. Now, Election Commission of India is looking into your expenses. Election Commission of India says, come here. Says what? You have not mentioned the amount of money that you gave for paid news. What? When you issue an advertisement in a newspaper, for example, this is the Hindu newspaper. if this Hindu newspaper has various editions, Delhi edition, Chandigarh edition, Bengaluru edition, Chennai edition, if you want your advertisement on the front page, that is what we call jacket ad. That means first page and the second page will be of your advertisement. Then will come the real page number 1. This is what we call jacket. This jacket ad, if you want in the entire country, in all the editions of the Hindu, you have to pay 70 lakh rupees. That means one advertisement will cost you 70 lakh rupees and you have to spend only 90 lakh rupees. How do you get away with this? You still want to be advertised. But for that, you're calling the journalist. Can you publish an article? So instead of you putting out an advertisement, there's an article written by a journalist that Mr. Sarmat visited his constituency. People praised him for his efforts during COVID-19. 20 lakh people were provided scholarships. All the people were very happy. This is the photograph when I'm meeting the constituency. One people of my constituency will get an idea, will be misled that it is the newspaper writer, it is the author, it is the columnist, it is the journalist who is writing this article, and it is based on truth. Because it's not an advertisement, it's something which is written by a journalist. The journalist will not write like this. I will give him 10 lakh rupees or 20 lakh rupees. Please write this article. Because if I use this language in an advertisement, I have to tell it to Election Commission of India. Then I cannot spend more. So I will give you 20 lakh rupees or 70 lakh rupees, but you write this article. This is what we call paid news. News for which you are paying. Election Commission of India will say, come here. These are paid news. Which means it appears that you have paid money to these journalists to get these news articles. Why have you not included them in your expenses account? We are disqualifying you. But you are disqualified for 3 years. That means if I'm elected today, within 6 months I will be disqualified because Election Commission of India will come to know whether I violated the election limit. That means 6 months, then for 3 years I will be disqualified. Which means I can contest the election again. The reform that we are proposing is this period should be extended from 3 years to 5 years so that this candidate at least cannot contest the next election as well. Which means if after 6 months I am disqualified, but now disqualified for 5 years, which means after 4.5 years election would be conducted, I will not be eligible to contest that election because I am disqualified. So there will be fair in my mind. I should not fake these accounts. I should not mislead Election Commission of India. I should not overspend. Because if I do that, not only will I be disqualified from the current Lok Sabha, I cannot contest elections in the next Lok Sabha as well. Which means for 10 years, I will be in political oblivion. I will be in political retirement. After 10 years, nobody will listen to me. This fair has to be there in the candidate. You have to lodge these accounts, expenses with the Election Commission, and at the same time, you should, if you fail to lodge this account or if you violate the election limit, then you should be disqualified from the existing 3-year period to 5-year period. Another electoral reform, political donations, electoral bonds. And this I will give you as an assignment. There is a video lecture on electoral bonds on our YouTube channel. That is my video. Please go through that video, understand what electoral bonds are, what are the challenges before electoral bonds, because right now this case is going on in the Supreme Court. Supreme Court has to decide whether electoral bonds will continue or not, whether they violate free and fair elections or not, whether they violate right of the candidates, right of the people to know about the political parties. That will be your assignment. Would you be able to watch that video? Yes? Very good. Already watched. Yes. Very good. So that is why we will not discuss it here. We will discuss something else because we are here to save our time, preserve our time. Today, a candidate can contest elections from up to 2 constituencies. There was a time when there was no limit. You could have contested elections from 3 constituencies as well. Mr. Vajpayee once contested elections from 3 constituencies. Mr. Rahul Gandhi contested from 2 constituencies. He lost one. But Mr. Modi contested elections from 2 constituencies, Vadodara and Varanasi. Even if you are contesting elections from up to 2 constituencies, maximum 2 constituencies, you cannot retain both the constituencies. You have to give up one. Mr. Modi decided to give up Vadodara and retain Varanasi. But in Vadodara, by-election was to be conducted. Fresh election was to be conducted. That means more money was spent, more resources were utilized. Ultimately, waste of time. Representation of the People Act should be amended. Section 33, Clause 7 should be amended so that the candidate should be allowed to contest election from only 1 constituency. Because it's a waste of time, waste of resource. It's like you're harassing the voter. Vote now, after a few months, we will come back to you. Vote again. At a time when we are calling for 1 nation, 1 election, that means 1 election throughout the country, whether it is for Lok Sabha or Legislative Assembly, it is incompatible with that idea of 1 nation, 1 election to allow candidates to contest election from up to 2 constituencies. Amend Representation of the People Act and allow candidates to contest election from only 1 constituency. That's another reform. Another reform suggested by Law Commission is that independent candidates should be barred from contesting elections. Who are these independent candidates? Srimati Hema Malini, Dream Girl, contested Lok Sabha elections from the Mathura constituency. Congress, Samajwadi Party, Bahujan Samajwadi Party, other political parties, they realized that we don't have a choice. We don't stand a chance to beat the Dream Girl. Although it's our dream to beat the Dream Girl, but it will remain a dream. But they saw a dream. In that dream, they hit upon an idea. Let's find out from Mathura who are the other Hema Malinis with same name. And we will ask them to contest elections. So that when Hema Malini name is mentioned on the electronic voting machine, I am a voter, I am searching for Hema Malini in the EVM. But now there are so many Hema Malinis. Who is the real Hema Malini? Which means I may be able to mark my preference to vote for a different Hema Malini. And how are these political parties setting up these candidates? Independents. That means they can't send their own candidate as Hema Malini because then they will lose. They want their candidate to win at the expense of Hema Malini. So they want to confuse the voters by having more Hema Malinis contest this election. Law Commission of India says these independent candidates are mostly dummy candidates, non-serious candidates with the same name, only to increase voters' confusion. That is why independent candidates should be disbarred from contesting elections. Who says this? Law Commission of India. But if you ask me, I don't agree with this suggestion. Why? Because Article 14 talks about right to equality. Free and fair election is the basic structure of the Constitution. Anybody who has completed the age of 25 should have the freedom to contest election. Just because a provision is misused doesn't mean we have to delete that provision. We need to create more voter awareness to ensure that these dummy candidates lose. And these dummy candidates do lose the elections. It's not that a random Hema Malini defeated the real Hema Malini. Hema Malini still won the election. So personally, I don't agree. But if there is a statement, a question asked in your prelims examination, Law Commission of India recommends independents be disbarred from contesting elections. You should know the statement is correct. Law Commission has recommended this. But I don't agree. Whether you agree or not is irrelevant. Thus, Section 4 and 5 of the Representation of the People Act should be amended to provide for only political parties which are registered with Election Commission of India to contest elections. Something else, simultaneous elections, what is known as one nation, one election. Again, on this very topic, there's a video on YouTube. Please watch that video. It's a thorough 1 hour video where you can understand the history of one nation, one election, the arguments in favor, the arguments against, how we can implement this. This is your assignment number 2. In schools or colleges, we were told by the teachers that assignment is, we will not teach you this, but you will have to learn it on your own. Assignment I am giving you right now is I will not teach you here, but I have already taught it on YouTube. So you don't have to work extra to get these assignments done. But please watch these 2 videos, one on electoral bonds, the second on one nation, one election. There is a video by Anubhav sir as well on one nation, one election. You can watch that video or you can watch my video, your choice. Both are equally good. His is better than mine. But watch that video so that you understand what is one nation, one election. These are the 2 assignments that you have. Okay, very good. So that we can utilize this time to discuss something much, much important, which is not there available on YouTube or in other platforms. State funding of elections. There is a limit on the spending of candidates. If it's a large constituency, 90 lakhs. If it's a small constituency, 75 lakhs. That's the limit. There is no limit on political parties spending. Candidates have a limit. Political parties have no limit. So political party can issue these jacket ads every single day, spending 70 lakhs per ad, asking people not to vote for a candidate, asking people to vote for the symbol, which is lotus, vote for the symbol, which is hand. There has to be limit on political parties and their spending. Otherwise, you're violating fair elections. If 90 lakh is the spend on a constituency, let's assume all the constituencies are large constituencies. So 543 constituencies, 90 lakhs, which basically means close to 500 crores. That's it. According to Association for Democratic Reforms, according to various observers, Election Watch, in the last election, we spent close to 5,000 crore rupees, which makes Indian parliamentary election more expensive than the US presidential elections. And one reason for that is there is no limit on political parties and their spending. There has to be a limit. Not just that. There is one political party which is very rich. And I don't have to even reveal the name of that political party, which is very rich, which gets political donations, which gets donations from the corporates, which gets money from the electoral bonds. A rich political party. And then there's a political party which is poor. This rich political party can send its candidates in choppers, can have jacket ads, marketing campaigns, SMS campaigns, can have hashtags on the Twitter, spend money on digital media to convince voters to vote for them. But this poor political party will not be able to. Should in a democracy, a political party's ability to form the government be dependent upon whether that political party has money or not? It should not happen. It's the ideology of that political party, the election manifesto of that political party, the nature of candidates set up by political party that should determine whether it should be successful or not. But unfortunately, it's the money which dictates everything. That's why Bill Clinton said in the 1990s, it's all economy stupid. It's all about money. Can we do one thing? Instead of corporates, instead of individuals donating money to political parties, we should ban all these donations. But political party needs money. 110% they need money, because if I want to project my ideology, if I have to convince voters why they should vote for me, I need money for boarding, lodging, stationery, printing, tickets, everything. Yes, I need money. But instead of this money given to me by corporates, why isn't the state giving me this money? State should be giving this money. And it won't cost much. If 10 rupees per voter, both state as well as center is contributing, all the voters in my state, the state government will contribute 10 rupees per voter in this election fund. The central government, for all the voters in the country, will contribute 10 rupees per voter to this election corpus fund. This election corpus fund will have more than 1,500 crores. And this electoral corpus fund will be used to give money to political parties. This money you should spend. You should not take donations from others. This is what we call state funding of elections. That means instead of corporates funding political parties, and why should a corporate fund a political party? There has to be give and take. There has to be quid pro quo, which basically means I will give you something, but I need something in return. If I'm donating money to you, tomorrow when you form the government, you should make policies which will help my company. Otherwise, why would I donate money to you? That is why there is a stand-up comedian by the name of Kunal Kamra. He makes a genuine question, raises a genuine question. Why should I not be voting directly for Mr. Ambani? Why should Rahul Gandhi or Mr. Modi come in between? If he gets to decide who forms the government by spending the money, by donating the money, I should rather vote for Mr. Ambani. And Mr. Ambani will not be corrupt. State funding of elections. And there have been so many committees. The Dinesh Goswami Committee, Tarkunde Committee, so many committees which had recommended state funding of elections. That means there has to be an electoral corpus fund. This money should be given to political parties for their spending. And only that much money should be used. Nothing else. It will reduce corruption in our society. It will reduce this unholy nexus of corporates and politicians in India. And maybe the larger beneficiary would be the people of India. But state funding of elections can have an alternative as well. And this alternative was proposed by Professor Yogendra Yadav, one of India's foremost sophologists. Professor Yogendra Yadav says, let the corporates donate money. Because why is a corporate donating money? We know he needs something from the government. But in practice, on paper, in front of media, what do these corporates say? We are donating money to these political parties because we want to deepen democracy. We don't need anything from the government, but we want to deepen democracy. That's how we are donating money to political parties. Otherwise, where will they get the money to implement their ideology or convey their point of view to the people? Let these corporates donate, but instead of donating to political parties themselves directly, they should donate to electoral corpus fund. Because there is one problem with electoral corpus fund. What is that problem? I want to contest elections. I don't have a support. People don't know me. They won't vote for me. My opponent is Mr. Modi, Mr. Rahul Gandhi, Mr. Kejriwal. Let's assume 4 of us are contesting elections from this constituency. Where will the money come from? Electoral corpus fund. That means this money has to be equally given to all the 4 candidates. I don't have the support of the people, yet I will get the money to spend to campaign for my elections. This will result in a situation where non-serious candidates will also come up. Let's contest elections. At least we will get the money from electoral corpus fund. That is why politicians are reluctant to implement state funding of elections. Saying otherwise, if we implement state funding of elections, more and more candidates who are non-serious candidates, they will also contest elections because they will get some money to contest elections. That's one problem. Another problem is, should it not be that more money should be given to Mr. Modi because he has more support? Less money should be given to me because I have no support. And how do we gauge the support, test the support? Whatever money is in the electoral corpus fund, money should be distributed in proportional representation system. Which means if from my constituency, I got 30% of the votes, 30% of this money which was supposed to be given to this constituency should be given to me. 20% to Mr. Modi, 10% to Mr. Kejriwal, 0.001 to Mr. Rahul Gandhi. In proportion to your support, that much amount should be given to you. And do you know what it will do? It will then democratize the political parties. Imagine it this way. After the election is over, we have this electoral expenses account, electoral corpus fund. 36% of this money will be given to Congress. 20% of this money will be given to the BJP, for example, depending upon your vote share. What it will do, it will encourage political parties to get more support of the people, to get more votes from the people, so that they will get more money from this fund. Not just this, now the cadres of the political party, the workers of the political party, they would now impose demands on their leaders. See, because of us, because of our work, because we give you votes, we ensure voters vote for you. You got 300 crores. Now this money should also be given to us in the form of salary, increased salary. It will democratize political parties as well if state funding of elections takes place. So state funding has two meanings. One, corporates should not fund at all. Let every state, every center contribute 10 rupees per voter, and this money will go into the election corpus fund, and whatever money is required by political parties will be given out of this fund. Or the other alternative is, let the corporates donate, but this donation, instead of going directly to a political party, should go to this fund, and then this money will be distributed amongst the political parties based on their representation based on their vote share in the last elections. That means more the voters, more the votes, more the contribution from this fund to your political party. And when the workers of the political party will get to know that this is the amount of money that we are receiving because of our hard work, because we convince voters to vote for you, they will also make demands on the leaders of that political party that this money should also be given to us in the form of increased salaries. This will democratize political parties. That is what we need in funding of elections. That can be another reform. Criminalization of politics. There was a time when I am a criminal, but I am supporting a candidate of a political party. All my gundas, all my money will be given to you. You contest election, you win the election. So that tomorrow when you become an MP or an MLA, you will save me. Over a period of time, these criminals realized, why should we support someone else to contest these elections? Why don't we jump into elections ourselves? So these Bahubalis, they started contesting elections on their own, and as criminals also, they became the members of the parliament or legislature. So candidates with criminal past, contesting elections, winning the elections, and ultimately what happens? Lawbreakers become lawmakers. These criminals who broke the law, now they're part of the legislature to make a law. So many petitions were filed in the courts that these criminals should not be allowed to contest elections. We are talking about convicted and charge sheeted and accused. Satyam, it is Yogendra Yadav, not Yogendra Singh. Yogendra Singh is a sociologist. Yogendra Yadav is a sophologist. Yogendra Yadav previously was part of the Aam Aadmi Party. He's also part of Center for the Study of Developing Societies. He's also part of the group, the advisory group, which used to make your NCERT books. Yogendra Yadav, Professor Yogendra Yadav. But be that as it may, we are talking about criminals who are convicted, charge sheeted, or accused. Convicted individuals cannot contest. Because once you have committed any crime, under the Representation of the People Act, you will be disqualified. And I will tell you what are those disqualifications. Which means if you are convicted for a crime, you will not be disqualified. If you have been convicted for the crime, you cannot contest elections because you are disqualified from contesting elections. Should somebody who is accused of committing a crime not allowed to contest elections? No, because then it would be access. I'm a strong candidate contesting the elections against Mr. Modi, Mr. Rahul Gandhi, Mr. Kejriwal. All of them, they fear me. They think that I will be able to win the election. One accusation that I'm a thief. One accusation that I'm a terrorist. One accusation that I'm a murderer. One accusation that I'm a corrupt. If accusation leads to disqualification, then it is dangerous for the society. It is dangerous for democracy. And we are not even talking about accused. One, if you're a convicted criminal, you cannot contest elections. But if you're accused, just because you're accused of a crime, you should not be disqualified from contesting elections. Because the golden rule of criminal justice system is you are innocent until proven otherwise. But then there are individuals accused of serious crimes for which you are charge sheeted as well. Serious crime can be terrorism, murder, rape, corruption, violence, polarizing society. If you are an individual with a serious crime accusation and you have also been charge sheeted, now whether you will be declared guilty or not, that is for the court to decide. But you are accused of a serious crime for which you are charge sheeted as well. Charge sheet has been filed in the court of law. Such people should not be allowed to contest elections. Let you clear your name, after that you can contest elections. Various petitions were filed. Association for Democratic Reforms also filed a petition that such people should not be allowed to contest elections. Political party said, you can't impose a limit on us. It is our job, it is our responsibility to give tickets to political parties, to candidates. And it is for the people to decide whether they want to vote for them or not. So in a democracy, everybody has the right. If they're convicted, they cannot contest elections. But otherwise, they should be allowed to contest elections. Supreme Court asked an important question. Supreme Court said, why give tickets? Such people who are charge sheeted, who are accused of serious crimes, who have been charge sheeted, although they're not convicted, they're charge sheeted. But can't you find someone else in the constituency to give ticket to? Why are you giving ticket to this individual? Give us the reason. Political parties previously would answer, winnability. We are a political party. Our principal objective is to contest elections and capture political power, form the government. For that, we need candidates who can win the elections. It is because they can win the elections, that is why we are giving them tickets. Last year, Supreme Court said no. Don't give us the reason that only because of their winnability, you are giving them tickets. Any other reason, if you have, tell us those reasons. And not us, tell the people. What you have to do, 2 national newspapers, if it's a Lok Sabha election, 2 prominent newspapers at the state level, you have to give an advertisement and mention the reason why you are giving tickets to these criminals, and don't mention winnability as a reason. Not just that, on your website, you should have a prominent place where you should explain why you are giving tickets to these criminals, to these candidates with criminal past. Imagine the embarrassment that political parties will have to face when, as a political party, the BJP, the Congress, will have to issue an advertisement in 2 newspapers explaining the reason why Mr. Bhushan, who is accused of serious crime, was given ticket by us. And it is not because of his winnability, it is because of some other reason. And what is that other reason? Mention that in your notification. This is how Supreme Court is trying to prevent criminalization of politics, to ensure that candidates with criminal past are not allowed to contest elections, are dissuaded from contesting the elections. But even these directives have been misused by political parties, ignored by political parties. In the last few elections after this judgment, political parties, they have not issued such advertisements. They have not even put up on their website at a prominent location the reason why we are giving tickets to these candidates with criminal past. And now there's a contempt of court petition pending against these political parties before the court. The petitioner prays that contempt of court proceedings should be initiated against these political parties because they have deliberately, willfully disobeyed a court order, judgment of the court. Let's see what the court will have to say on this matter. But criminalization politics, more than 1,700 MLAs in India, they have criminal past. More than 200 MPs in Lok Sabha, total 300 MPs both from Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, they have criminal past. And it gives a sense to the people that lawbreakers are there making laws in the legislatures. For that, this is a welcome step because it will embarrass political parties because they have to explain to the people the reason why we are giving tickets to these candidates with criminal past without mentioning that they can win the election. Winnability is not a criteria. Any other criteria that you have, tell the people so that you are exposed before the public and you are embarrassed and you will not give tickets to candidates with criminal past. Criminalization of politics. Then I told you that there are 2 laws that we have to discuss. Representation of the People Act 1950, Representation of the People Act 1951. Even without you knowing, we have covered Representation of the People Act 1951. Let's first look at RPA 1950, then RPA 1951. Representation of the People Act 1950 talks about 4 things or areas. Number 1, allocation of seats. We have Schedule 4 of the Constitution. What does it talk about? Representation of states in the Rajya Sabha. UP will have 31 MPs, Telangana will have 7 MPs, Andhra will have 11 MPs. Where is it mentioned? Schedule 4 of the Constitution. But how many MPs do we have in Lok Sabha? 543. And for UP, how many seats are there in Lok Sabha? Not mentioned in the Constitution, mentioned in the Representation of the People Act 1950. What is the composition of a legislative assembly? Minimum we can have 60 MLAs, maximum we can have 500 MLAs. But for UP, how many MLAs do you have? What is the strength of your assembly? Mentioned in Representation of the People Act. What is the strength of a legislative council? Minimum we can have 140, maximum we can have 1/3 of the legislative assembly. But for Karnataka, what is the strength of legislative council? For Bihar, for Uttar Pradesh, for Maharashtra, for Telangana, for Andhra, what is the strength of the legislative council? That is mentioned in Representation of the People Act 1950. So Representation of the People Act 1950 talks about number 1, allocation of seats. Allocation of seats to Lok Sabha, to Legislative Assembly, to Legislative Council. Because allocation of seats in the Rajya Sabha is already mentioned under Schedule 4 of the Constitution. That's number 1. Number 2, it talks about delimitation of constituencies. After every census, there should be delimitation, which will lead to redrawal of electoral boundaries. That is done under the provisions of Representation of the People Act 1950. So one thing that RPA 1950 talks about, allocation of seats to Lok Sabha, to Legislative Assembly, to Legislative Council. Number 2, delimitation. Number 3, officers who are part of preparing these electoral rolls. At the district level, we have a district election officer with a district collector, collecting all the details of the voters and helping in preparing this electoral roll. At the state level, we have the state electoral officer. At the central level, we have the chief electoral officer. All of them, they are responsible for making these electoral rolls. That means 4 things that are mentioned in that are part of the Representation of the People Act. Number 1, allocation of seats. Number 2, delimitation. Number 3, officers. Number 4, electoral rolls. If you are voter of this particular constituency, what is the proof that you need to give so that your name can be registered as a voter in this constituency? That all is decided by these officers, and that is how they create electoral rolls. And we have a common electoral roll. That is Representation of the People Act 1950. That's it. But the real law, which talks about the entire conduct of elections, is the Representation of the People Act 1951. Because what is 1950 law? An act to provide allocation of seats in, delimitation of constituencies, whether to House of People or legislatures of states, which includes Legislative Assembly, Legislative Council. It also talks about qualification of voters at such elections. What is the proof that you have to give so that your name can be mentioned in the voter list, electoral rolls? Preparation of electoral rolls. All this is mentioned under Representation of the People Act 1950. But the real law to govern the conduct of election is the Representation of the People Act 1951. And what does this law talk about? It talks about qualification to contest election. It talks about disqualification from election. It talks about various officers who are responsible for the entire polling exercise. So what is the qualification? To become a member of the Council of States, Rajya Sabha. That's mentioned in the Constitution. You should be the citizen of India. You must have 30 years of age. You should be eligible to become a member of the, you should not be holding any office or profit. But any other qualification will be provided by the Parliament, by law. Constitution says for Lok Sabha as well. You should be the citizen of India. You must have completed 25 years of age. You should not be holding any office or profit. And any other qualification can be prescribed by Parliament by law. And what is that law? Representation of the People Act 1951. And it is this representation of the People Act 1951 which says if you want to contest the Rajya Sabha election, which is Council of States, if you want to contest Lok Sabha election, you should be a voter in any parliamentary constituency of this country. I told you previously, till about 2003, if you wanted to contest the Rajya Sabha election from Karnataka, you should have been a registered voter of Karnataka. But now that is not the case because the representation of the People Act 1951 was amended to provide for that you should be a registered voter in any parliamentary constituency of this country to contest the Rajya Sabha elections. What is the qualification for the House of the People? We have discussed about reservation for SCs and STs. If there is a constituency which is reserved for SCs, only SCs can contest those elections. If it's a seat reserved for STs, only ST can contest election from that seat. Where is it mentioned? Representation of the People Act 1951. It not only talks about qualification for Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, it also talks about qualification for Legislative Assembly, qualification for a Legislative Council. That means if you have to contest Legislative Assembly election, you should be the registered voter in that state. If you have to contest Legislative Council election, you should be the registered voter in that state. All these qualifications are mentioned where? In the representation of the People Act 1951. But not only qualifications, it also talks about disqualification. A member of a legislature, whether parliament or state legislature, shall be disqualified. On what grounds? Change in the nature of citizenship, adjudged insolvent, mental unsoundness, office or profit. All these are mentioned where? In the Constitution. But Constitution further says, additional grounds of disqualification can be prescribed by Parliament, by law. That means Parliament will enact a law and provide additional grounds on the basis of which the legislator can be disqualified. When we discussed this, I told you there are two laws. Anti-defection law, which we have discussed, and the representation of the People Act 1951, which we will discuss. That means additional grounds of disqualification are also prescribed by representation of the People Act 1951. And there are three sections that you have to keep in mind. If there is a legislator, listen to me carefully. If there is a legislator, a member of Parliament, a member of state legislature, if you have been convicted for under section 153 capital A, that means you are promoting enmity between different groups on the grounds of religion, race, place of birth, or if you have been convicted for bribery, or if you have been convicted for undue influence or impersonation at an election. For example, I am a voter, clear? But my vote is in a different constituency. I am contesting from this constituency. Now I am also voting in this constituency, but I am impersonating someone else. If you are the registered voter, I am saying Raj is the registered voter and I am Raj. I am impersonating you. You can be disqualified. That means if you are convicted for all these offences, let's say rape, murder, all these offences under section 8 clause 1, even if only fine is imposed or you are imprisoned, that means if you are convicted for these offences under section 8 clause 1, whether you are imposed with a fine or with an imprisonment, both will lead to disqualification. Even a fine will lead to disqualification, which means you're disqualified. A fine of 10 rupees, disqualified. Imprisonment, disqualified. Imprisonment for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 3 years, 30 years, disqualified. And what is that disqualification period? If only fine is imposed for a period of 6 years from the date of such conviction. If today the fine of 100 rupees is imposed on me, but I have been convicted for these offences under section 8 clause 1, from the date of my conviction for 6 years, I cannot contest elections. I am disqualified. But if I am sentenced to imprisonment, let's say I am convicted today, I am imprisoned for 10 years. For 10 years, I cannot contest elections. Once I am released, 6 years, I cannot contest elections. That means total for 16 years, I will not contest elections. I am disqualified. Where is it mentioned? A representation of the People Act 1951. Which means, if you are convicted for these offences mentioned under section 8 clause 1, doesn't matter whether you are imprisoned or only punishment is given to you, which means only fine is imposed on you. Doesn't matter, you will be disqualified. But if you are disqualified, if you are convicted under section 8 clause 2 of the Representation of the People Act, for example, you are convicted for hoarding or profiteering. And I told you last time, Essential Commodities Act. If onion is an essential commodity, there is a limit to the amount of onions that you can hoard. If you are hoarding more than that limit, that means basically you are guilty of hoarding an essential commodity. And for that, punishment can be given to you. If you are a legislator who has been convicted for hoarding or profiteering, or you are adulterating foods or drugs, there's a food item that you are manufacturing and you're adulterating it. You're adding fertilizers or chemicals to this food item. You're adulterating the food. You will be convicted. If you are convicted of any provisions under the Dowry Prohibition Act, but this time, if you're convicted for these offences and you're imprisoned for not less than 6 months, previously under section 8 clause 1, even if a fine is imposed, you will be disqualified. But if you are convicted for these offences, if you are sentenced to jail for less than 6 months, you will not be disqualified. But if you are sentenced to jail for more than 6 months, you will be disqualified. And you will be disqualified from the date of such conviction and continue for a further period of 6 years since your release. That means if you are convicted for serious offences under section 8 clause 1 of the Representation of the People Act, whether it is cruelty towards woman by husband, whether you are convicted of unlawful activities or Atrocities Act, or convicted under the Corruption Act, convicted under the Terrorism Act, even if a fine is imposed, you will be disqualified for 6 years. If imprisonment, then throughout your imprisonment period, you cannot contest. Once you're released, for another 6 years after your release, you cannot contest elections. But if you're convicted for, let's say, hoarding or profiteering or adulteration, or some provision under the Dowry Prohibition Act, if you are convicted, but you are sentenced to 2 months in jail, 3 months in jail, less than 6 months in jail, you will not be disqualified. But if you are sentenced to more than 6 months in jail, under these provisions, you will be disqualified. For how long? 6 years after your release. Then we have section 8 clause 3. A person convicted of any offence. Which are these offences? Other than those mentioned under section 1 and section 2, other than the serious offences mentioned under section 1, other than those offences mentioned under section 2, which is adulteration, profiteering, hoarding, or some provisions of Dowry Act, other than these two provisions, if you are convicted for any law, but in prison for not less than 2 years. If you are convicted for any law as a legislator, but punishment is given to you which is less than 2 years, you will not be disqualified. But if the punishment is given which is 2 years or more, then you will be disqualified, and disqualified for a further period of 6 years after your release. Mr. Rahul Gandhi came in this category. Rahul Gandhi was not convicted under Section 8 Clause 1, or the offences under Section 8 Clause 1, or the offences under Section 8 Clause 2. He came under Section 8 Clause 3 because he was convicted for a law which is not mentioned under 8 Clause 1 and 8 Clause 2. Any other law for which if you are given 2 or more years in jail, you will be disqualified, and disqualified for a further 6 years after the release. The case is still pending. If Supreme Court also says, yes, Mr. Rahul Gandhi, you are guilty of criminal defamation, which comes under Section 8 Clause 3. You are disqualified, you are convicted for 2 years in jail because the maximum punishment in criminal defamation is 2 years. If Rahul Gandhi is given a jail sentence of less than 2 years, he will not be disqualified. He can still continue as a legislator. But if he is given a sentence of 2 years again, which is the maximum punishment, you will be disqualified, and then after your release, you cannot contest election for 6 years. Where is it mentioned? Representation of the People Act 1951. And it is this law which also talks about the right to vote. Although right to vote is a constitutional right under Article 326. But if, for example, you are not mentioned in the electoral roll of any constituency, you cannot vote. If you are in the lawful custody of the police, you cannot vote. If you are under preventive detention, you cannot vote. Where is it mentioned? Representation of the People Act 1951. Although I am a citizen of India, I complete 18 years of age, I am a registered voter also in this constituency, but still I cannot vote if I am in the jail. Still I cannot vote if I am in the preventive detention. Where is it mentioned? Representation of the People Act 1951. No person shall vote at a general election in more than one constituency. I voted in this constituency, I voted in another constituency as well. Both votes will be invalid. Where is it mentioned? Representation of the People Act. No person shall at any election vote in the same constituency more than once. That means it's not only I vote in this constituency and I vote in another constituency as well. Even in my constituency, if I vote at more than one polling booth, all those votes polled by me will be invalid. Where is it mentioned? Representation of the People Act 1951. And no person shall vote at any election if he is confined in a prison, whether under a sentence of imprisonment or transportation or otherwise, or is in the lawful custody of the police. You cannot vote. Equality of votes. There's voting in my constituency. I am the candidate. The other candidate is Mr. Rahul Gandhi. 1 lakh votes were polled. I got 50,000. He also got 50,000. Who is the winner from this constituency? This is where I told you, returning officer. Returning officer for this Lok Sabha election is the district collector. The parliamentary constituency, that district's district collector is returning the winner. So what this returning officer will do? He will draw chits. 2 chits. In one chit, my name. In another chit, Rahul Gandhi's name. Pick the winner. It's my name. Rahul Gandhi has lost again. Is this allowed? Yes. In case of equality of vote, where both the candidates get equal number of votes, the returning officer returns the winner by drawing lot. By throwing chit, taking one winner, and this person is the candidate. This person is the representative. Where is it mentioned? Representation of the People Act 1951. And if you have a doubt or dispute regarding your election, let's say I filled my nomination papers, returning officer rejected these nomination papers. There's a dispute. Where can I file such a case? In the High Court. That means all these election disputes can be filed by filing an election petition after the election is over. That means once the election is over, then you can approach the High Court. And High Courts will try these election petitions. Where is it mentioned? Representation of the People Act 1951. And if the elections will take place in Madhya Pradesh, all the companies operating in Madhya Pradesh will have to give a paid holiday to all the voters. Which means this is Karnataka. We have elections in Karnataka. All the employees of our company who are voters in Karnataka, they will be given paid holiday. That means they don't have to work, they are on a holiday, but they will be paid for it because they have to do their duty, which is to vote in these elections. And something you would know, which I don't have to even reveal, liquor is not to be sold, given, or distributed on a polling day. Where is it mentioned? It is mentioned under Representation of the People Act 1951. Under trials are allowed to vote provided you are not in jail. If you are in jail, as an under trial also, you cannot vote. But if you are outside, yes, you can. We have voters. And we have the voting percentage. Voting percentage is less. Voter participation is not maximum. One reason for that may not be voters' apathy, that voters simply don't care. Maybe because of the opportunity. Maybe because we have massive migrants. I am from Bihar. I am working in Karnataka, for example. There are assembly elections in Bihar, but I'm working in Karnataka. I have to book tickets to go to Bihar just to vote, and I'm not earning much. Why would I waste my time and resources? I won't go to Bihar to cast my vote. Ultimately, what happens? Voter percentage is less. I am a registered voter in Delhi, but right now I'm out of the country. For that, I have to come back to India to vote in these elections. Why would I do that? I won't. Is there a way in which we can ensure, forget about NRIs. NRIs, they have to come to India and vote. They are wealthy, they can come and exercise their right to vote. We're not talking about them. We are talking about internal migrants. If you are from Tamil Nadu, but you are working in Delhi, and elections are conducted in Tamil Nadu, for that you have to travel back to Tamil Nadu, spend money, resources, and then vote, and then come back. When you calculate the cost, you say it's not important, even if I want to, but I cannot go there. That is why the voting percentage is less. Election Commission of India has come up with a prototype of another EVM known as the remote EVM. Remote EVM in the sense, this is Karnataka. And this is, let's say, Madhya Pradesh. There are migrants from Madhya Pradesh working in Karnataka. And we will have details of all these individuals. We have the details. Now, voting has to happen in Madhya Pradesh assembly elections or Lok Sabha elections in Madhya Pradesh. I, as a voter from Madhya Pradesh, will vote in Karnataka for Madhya Pradesh elections. That means all of us who are from Madhya Pradesh, we will come to a polling booth in Karnataka, and in this electronic voting machine, it can serve up to 72 constituencies. Let's say we have 120 seats in Madhya Pradesh, for example, and we have migrants from Madhya Pradesh in Karnataka. All we have to do is set up 2 EVMs. All these migrants will come. They will look at which is our constituency. 72 constituencies will be on one EVM, 72 on another EVM. I will have to press the button against one constituency. That means my vote will be registered against that constituency for that candidate. So allowing these migrants to vote remotely from their place of work for a place where they are a voter, that is what we call remote EVM. Remote EVM was to be implemented. Election Commission of India asked all the political parties, please be present, and we will show you how this remote EVM works. Election Commission of India, political parties say, first you have to enhance the credibility of the existing EVM. Then we can shift to remote EVM, because political parties are still adamant on the same thing. Modi ji is hacking the EVMs. That is why he is winning the election. To make democracy deeper and participation maximum, we need this electronic or remote electronic voting machine, by which these migrants, particularly seasonal migrants, who are these seasonal migrants or short-term migrants? People from Bihar, Odisha, Uttar Pradesh, they travel to Punjab and Haryana during the harvesting season. They stay there for a couple of months. During this period, if there is election in their state, they won't go because they know our work is only seasonal for 2 months only. For such individuals, you need to allow them to vote remotely. But sir, in urban areas, if the voting percentage is less, can't we use Aadhaar and our mobile phone to vote? We can, but it's liable to be misused as well. If Pegasus can be deposited or stored into your phone, any software can be used, through which even if you have not voted, your vote will be registered for a particular political party. The time is not yet ripe for voting at home using your smartphone and Aadhaar, but the time is ripe to vote at a polling booth, but remotely for your constituency. That is remote EVM. Sir, in Andhra, former CM Chandrababu Naidu is accused of a scam and he was in remand for many days and now he got bail. He can't contest elections, right? He can contest elections because he is only accused. He is not convicted. Otherwise, the chief minister himself is accused in disproportionate assets case. Sakshi TV, might have heard of those cases. Chief minister himself is accused. But you are an accused, you can still contest elections. It is only once you are convicted, you cannot contest elections. You're disqualified. Sir, but you said courts are barred from election proceedings, but now you're saying that every person can approach the court if there is an election dispute. Article 329 bars the interference of court in electoral matters. That means during the election takes place, courts cannot interfere. Once the election is over, if there is a dispute, you can file the election petition. Is plebiscite final output binding on the government? Yes, it is. So what we will do now, it's 9:26. We will leave it here. We will meet tomorrow 6 o'clock in the morning. First, we will discuss for the first 1 hour, we will discuss previous year's question papers. Then I'm going to mark the chapters from Lakshmikant, which you need to study. And then we will have the doubt session. Any doubts that you have, please shoot them. We will resolve the doubts tomorrow. Okay? Yes, tomorrow is the last class. After that, the polity class is prorogued, not adjourned. Any questions as of now? So why don't you continue now for half an hour? I could, but then there are students who have to go to office or college and they will miss out. Otherwise, I can. Ria, your doubt is visible. This comment is visible, but what's your doubt? That's not visible. I can't see. Dismissal of all India service officers from the service can be done only by the central government. Yes, and that we will discuss in governance, role of civil services in democracy. There we will discuss UPSC. What are the actions that can be taken against a civil servant? For example, you can be suspended, or you can be reduced in your rank, or you can be forced to compulsorily retire, or you can be removed, or you can be dismissed from the service. In all these actions, UPSC is consulted, but it is the central government which can remove you. Can disqualified members be nominated to Legislative Assembly, Lok Sabha? There are no nominated members in Legislative Assembly, Legislative and Lok Sabha. So there is no question of nomination. Can they be nominated to Rajya Sabha? No. Yes, Ritika, your comment is visible, but what's your query? For nomination rejection, can we approach the Election Commission of India? No, when nomination papers are rejected, you can't do much. Election will take place. After the election, you can file an election petition before the High Court. But something strange has happened recently in West Bengal elections. One candidate's nomination paper was rejected by the returning officer. He even then approached the High Court. High Court allowed his nomination papers to be accepted. That is why I told you previously, courts can do anything in India. Sir, please tell if IS officer can resign and can join his service again. Shah Faisal, for example, resigned. His resignation was not accepted. It was pending. Before action could be taken by the government. That means if government has accepted the resignation, now you can't join back. If the government has rejected that resignation letter, you can join back. But if the government has not taken any action on that resignation, it is pending. Before acceptance by the government, if you want to withdraw your resignation, you can do that, give reasons to the central government will accept, and you can join your service back. Can convicted MLA continue their post if they appeal in the court? We have discussed previously, there was section 8 clause 4. Even if you were convicted under section 8.1 or 8.2 or even 8.3, if you were convicted, you will not be disqualified. Within 3 months, you should appeal. That means this 3-month window was provided to this convicted legislator to file an appeal before the High Court. This was struck down by the Supreme Court in Lily Thomas versus Union of India. Now, the moment you are convicted, you are disqualified. If we adopt the American system of judiciary by making High Court's decisions and judgments final and binding in few of the state-confined issues, will that aid a little bit in reducing the huge amount of pending cases by taking away the burden from the Supreme Court? Yes, that is the suggestion under when you split the Supreme Court into Constitutional Court and Cassation Court. So you are still moving the Supreme Court, but not Delhi directly, because the Delhi Court will focus on constitutional matters. But there has to be check on High Court also. Finality has to be given by the Supreme Court. Honorable Sir would be teaching governance. Okay, that is it for today. See you again tomorrow, 6 o'clock in the morning. Tomorrow is the last class, so please attend the way you have been attending these classes for the past 26 years. Have a great time ahead. All the best. Bye-bye. Sir, I read the news yesterday. Chief Justice of India said legislature cannot overturn the court judgment. So that's not what he meant or what he said. What he said is, you can, if you don't like a judgment given by the court, you cannot overrule it by passing a law. But if the court has given a judgment and then you are curing the defects that are there in the law, you can pass a new law. What is the difference? If, for example, Supreme Court said primacy of Chief Justice of India in judicial appointments is part of the basic structure, that is why NJAC is unconstitutional. If you pass a new NJAC by giving Chief Justice of India primacy, by giving Chief Justice of India a veto in judicial appointments, saying any name which is not acceptable to Chief Justice of India cannot be sent to President for appointment, this law can be passed. So what you are doing, you are not overruling the judgment of the Supreme Court. You are curing the defect in this judgment. If the defect in this law was that you are not giving primacy to Chief Justice of India, because of this defect, Supreme Court said it is unconstitutional. Now, if you are curing this defect in the law by giving Chief Justice of India primacy, you can enact a fresh law. Do it. Shreyas, what's your question? If nomination papers are approved by High Court, then will there be re-elections in that constituency? Yes. That means election will be countermanded there. Fresh election will take place. Pooja, what's your question? I'm sorry, I couldn't find your question. Please type your question again. So these classes will be on application forever? Yes, they will be. Komal, what's your question? Whether the celebrity expenses are considered in total expenses. What is celebrity expenses? Celebrity expenses, let's say, Vivek Oberoi, for example, used to campaign for the BJP as well. Expenses for him will be added to the total expenses. But if Vivek Oberoi is the star campaigner released by BJP for these elections, his expenses will not be added. Got it? Can a person in whose country Indians are not allowed to become citizens of India by blood, descent, or registration, as they are not allowed to become Indian citizens through naturalization? Even then, if the central government wants, it can make such people citizens of India, because the central government has the power to waive off these conditions. If you have done well, performed well in the fields of art, literature, human progress, world peace. Is violation of RPA equal to violation of the Constitution? No, Representation of the People Act is an ordinary law passed by the Parliament. It's not part of the Constitution. What about normal citizens under provisions of RPA? RPA, Representation of People Act, does not apply to normal people. It applies to legislators or those who want to contest elections. If my voting rights were taken away, can I go to Supreme Court directly? No, your constitutional right is violated, not your fundamental right. So you have to approach the High Court. You can't move Supreme Court directly. What was the need of the second RPA? Representation of the People Act in 1950 basically focused on 4 items: allocation of seats, delimitation, officers, and electoral rolls. Representation of the People Act 1951, it governs the entire conduct of elections. Okay, that is it for today. See you tomorrow, 6 o'clock in the morning. Bye-bye. All the best.